Alright guys, so let's get going with our topic, Azure. Well, the topic becomes Azure Migrate. So Azure Migrate is the topic. Migrate. While the actual solution was asked that can we migrate a domain controller from local. Okay, so can we migrate a local domain controller from local? Okay. Okay, so yeah, we're talking about, so can we migrate a local domain controller? So I should add a local here. Domain controller from on-premises to Azure Cloud, which is, we're talking about IaaS, Infrastructure as a Service. Here I the local domain controller from on-premises to Azure Cloud. So, well, that is purely an Azure Migrate job. So we don't actually go for synchronization than what we did in last class, previous lab. So it's going to be the full move process, which is migrate and not sync process. So normally I get to have time, that day, whichever lab is there. I haven't done, obviously, all the labs, or when I do the labs previous year. So there are so many changes. So some of the labs I do first time, some of the labs I have to redo and make changes. So I discover that, oh, there are so many new things that they have added Azure, and after 6 months you will see so many new things will be. Maybe Azure Migrate name will change to something else. Well, not, I'm sure that will not change, but so many other things they will also add that we have to totally simply redo the whole lab. This same thing happened to us in our Azure load balancer, that they made some changes in that document, and I was like, oh man, seriously. And I was doing that so many times from previous document, and that's why. So now I was just checking the whole lab. Okay guys, so what we need to talk about is that can we migrate a local domain controller from on-premises to Azure Cloud IaaS. I'm going to stick to exactly this scenario, and obviously once you can you can migrate one virtual machine, you can migrate 1,000 virtual machines the same way. You just need to know exactly what it is. But I'm still not going large scale because every feature is having hundreds of options there, right? So many options there. So that's I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. But we will be able to move the local domain controller. So I'm just going to go ahead and now let's go to the diagram page on the storyboard. Wow, it's a nice name, right? Storyboard. Okay, so here we have Toronto branch, local Toronto branch, or as we say, on premises, right? So here we have a domain controller. So actually we have here a hypervisor. Nowadays you will see everything in a virtualized environment. You will see everything in virtualized environment, right? So this is our local branch, and then there is that Hyper-V. So there's Hyper-V, and inside Hyper-V we have, so obviously either you will have a VMware hypervisor or Zen server hypervisor or Microsoft Hyper-V. We have Hyper-V here, and obviously in Hyper-V you have a lot of virtual machines here. So in this case we right now have a domain controller. So that VM, this is VM, which has an OS, and it not only that, obviously every VM has an OS. It has a server OS, we can say server OS, and it is actually our domain controller. It is a domain controller, which hopefully everyone knows means that it offers authentication, authorization, accounting, and it is the Active Directory is installed inside, and suppose it's just giving authentication, authorization, accounting to so many other virtual machines. So this domain controller is here. It's happy. It's a happy guy here, and all of a sudden the boss says, "No, we need this guy. We've configured it so much that we need this guy to be up there in our private environment, and we need this particular machine there." So that is your AAA. This is the same last lab or different? Last lab what we did? We actually synchronized a machine. This time we are moving the machine. So Azure Migrate is a different service, and last was you need to have one virtual machine on premises. You're not actually moving it away, and the other machine is up there in the cloud. So they are just partner machines, right? But so we used the site recovery service for that in Azure. Now we're going to use Azure Migrate service. So that's the difference. Yes, there are different steps there as well for Azure Migrate, but yeah, last time, and I also mentioned one more thing here, that when we were doing the synchronization lab, right? So I mentioned that yes, you can use it as a migration tool as well, but Azure Migrate is a separate service where you just move the machine away from your local environment. But in site recovery service, it is just a replication service. So it's not moving, it's going to keep that partner, it's going to expect that partner to be there when you go for site recovery services. So, and yes, site recovery normally, we don't do replication for domain controllers basically. So that's why we uploaded a virtual machine, an empty virtual machine. Now I have to actually install an OS and make it an Active Directory and make sure this is having internet connection. I'm going to move this, we're going to move this machine up to the cloud now. Okay, so yeah, if it was the same lab, yeah, I would also say that, hey, why are we doing the same lab again? That's a very good question. And that also explains that Azure Site Recovery, so I have to write that down, Azure Site Recovery, yes, we saw that feature. And Azure Migrate, what's the difference? So Azure Site Recovery offers two things, backup and replication, right? And Azure Migrate offers what? Anyone can tell me? What does Azure Migrate offers then?
Yeah, just move it totally to cloud, right?
Exactly. So it's going to be not replication, although you would see that Microsoft says, hey, you can move that way as well, the machine, if you have an exact partner of that machine up there. Just fail over, and there you go. Your partner is up there, right? But this is, yeah, a totally different service. Let's go ahead, guys, and here. Oh, I didn't put that. So Azure Migrate is moving the VMs. Now there are hundreds of other scenarios for Azure Migrate as well. I understand that, but if you understand this one, you will understand. Then you should be able to do all the others as well. But let's just go ahead and here, yeah, we were talking about Azure. So in Azure, what we need to do is, well, we were talking about the scenario, and so we intend to just move this machine up in the cloud. So it will be a virtual machine here that we can remotely connect into. Best scenario would be if you have a Bastion subnet. So you can go with the private VM here, and then, well, you can have then as many other virtual machines, and you can join them to domain in that subnet, and yeah, so it will be a one happy private network up in the cloud instead of down here in on-premises. So let's, this is the main scenario that can we move that virtual machine inside Hyper-V up in the cloud intact in one piece. So that is the main scenario here, right? And Milab says, so we will not be using the Azure Ready services. So yeah, the best scenario, Milab, would have been that why are you bothering going for Azure Active Directory, moving the whole virtual machine when we have Azure Active Directory here, and just join the machines here to Azure Active Directory. Well, this would be the best scenario, but suppose you have done so much configuration here, you know what, it moves there, up there, it only moves users and groups, right? If you suppose go for AADC, there's another scenario that we talked about before. Suppose we talk about AADC. So what does AADC do? Syncs users and groups. That's it. What about group policies? Oh, no group policies. Oh, I want to create a private network up there, and I want to use the whole of the on-premises Active Directory up there in the cloud. So in that case, then only you can move the local domain controller, this one, right, up in the cloud, and then you can join the machines to the domain here. And then, so if you want an exact on-premises environment up in the cloud, then you move the machine. But Microsoft says, hey, we have, the whole Azure Active Directory up here in the cloud. So why are you actually moving the whole domain controller here? So why, if you want to have that on-premises actually in the cloud, and maybe you've created so much here, you've worked on it, and you love this machine so much. Okay, let's keep it technical. What is this? There's a lot of echo.
Yeah.
Oh, Vikas, you're sounding like this. Yeah. Hello. There are 5 echo sounds there.
Yeah, now is it better?
Yeah, I know it's okay.
Okay, so my question is like, no, it's just related to your scenario. So instead of moving machine, we can have deploy another domain controller and can have a replication from on-prem to Azure Active Directory, right?
Yeah, that would be your
like as you
controller.
Yeah, as you mentioned, if you need user groups, GPOs and everything, every setting we want to take to the cloud, we can create another machine here and make it domain controller and join the existing forest. So it's gonna do the same. Do the same thing which we are doing today, right?
So yes, and the scenario would be that you're actually getting rid of this. You don't want anything here, right? So this is that scenario. So suppose you go for this scenario, you still have to move the FSMO roles, FSMO, right?
Yeah.
FSMO roles need to be moved, and then the whole forest has to be confirmed here. If it reached here, then you need to upgrade the forest. So it's not gonna only be migrate, it's gonna be migrate plus upgrade as well. So it's a bit more complicated than actually just moving away your whole forest, the first root DC of the root domain controller.
So this is going to be side by side or in place migration?
So this is not in place. This is the whole virtual machine is moving itself. So in place and migrate, there are 2 different types here. In place is that you don't change the hardware, and migrate is you change the hardware. Here we're actually moving the whole hardware up there in the cloud, like not hardware but the virtual machine itself. So it's we can say we're not upgrading the inside of that. The Active Directory is not being upgraded here, and we're not moving away the roles from one machine to another. We're just moving the whole machine itself there. So neither it is in place nor it is migrate in terms of the application, but the whole virtual machine itself is moving without changing anything in terms of software inside the machine.
Yeah, just one last thing. Yep. Okay, so if I create a domain controller on Azure and move FSMO roles, do the like whatever migration process, if I follow all those steps, so I'm gonna have the same DC on Azure, right?
Yes.
So then I can demote the on-premises Active Directory. Instead of migrating this machine, I can have another DC on cloud and do the FSMO role migration and every step which required to do the migration, right?
Yes.
Then demote this DC. Is it gonna have the same? Is it gonna give the same solution which you are
Yes.
going to do now?
Yes. If you don't move exact VM there, then
Okay.
yes, you can just move the FISMO roles there, which is the crown of the domain controller. And if you move those roles, then this becomes the root DC after that. And then yes, you can easily demote that. So you can go this way as well.
All right. If it's 2019, we can raise the function level and all those steps we can perform, and we can have another DC. We can demote this one on premises. This is good. All good.
Exactly.
Basically.
This
Thank
way
you.
we can also go. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So yeah, can I move only the 5-role PDC? Yes, that's what Mohammed was. That's what. Yeah, the Wakas was also saying that you can actually create another domain controller, which is going to be first additional DC or replica DC. You're going to join this domain controller to the domain in on premises. You're going to join that. So good luck with that too. And then, so this means that you have to publish this. This domain controller has to be available over the internet. And this domain controller here, child DC or replica DC, needs to, not child domain controller, replica DC or additional DC has to be pinging this. So this means that you have to create a VPN first, and then make the two machines ping each other, and then you can do migrate the, creating a VPN and then moving the roles. Better than this is you just go ahead and migrate the whole actual machine yourself. If you don't need it back there, then which one is the shorter path? Now then this would be the second discussion, right? Technically, yes, you can do that, but is it going to take more administrative efforts? And what is the other way which takes less administrative efforts? So the Azure Migrate still is going to take lesser administrative efforts. But technically both can be done. And in the says, in short, cut and paste VM. Oh. Yeah, kinda. But what we're about to do, then we're gonna realize that Azure Migrate, or even this one, is, not a very easy process. It's time consuming. And Seth says, so on-prem, yeah, but cut and paste VM is exactly what move is. You cut and paste, you don't copy, you cut and paste, exactly. So if you're talking about migrate, so yeah, we're gonna get rid of this VM here and we're gonna cut and paste it here. Okay, so Safe says, so on-prem users will authenticate through Azure. Well, Safe, this is a scenario where, we're moving away from there. So this branch is being closed, we're shutting down everything, and the employees like me can take those physical servers home now. That kind of thing is happening here. So that's why it's not a synchronization scenario. It's just, if you want synchronization, then you have two ways, ADFS or AADC. AADC we have already done, that was the first lab we did. So through that or ADFS, that's the other way that local users, on-premises users are going for cloud applications. So we're not going for these two, we're going for an actual, we are leaving this branch, we are selling this property, we're selling all the servers, we're throwing everything out, we're moving, we're packing up to cloud. This is that scenario. And link for difference between migrate and site recovery. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Chintan. So there's a URL there. I'm just going to open that and put it in front of you. So Azure Migrate common questions, and yes, those were the questions coming here as well. What can I do with Azure Migrate? Azure Migrate to discover, assess, and migrate on-premises infrastructure applications and data to Azure. So Azure Migrate supports assessment and migration of on-premises VMware VMs, Hyper-V VMs, physical server VMs, the physical servers, that's not a VM, physical servers, and other virtualization VMs like Zen server from Citrix or KVM from Red Hat Linux, and then databases, web apps, and virtual desktops. Virtual desktops, that's Citrix, or Microsoft has desktop. What was the name for that in Microsoft? That Microsoft offers that solution, same as Citrix. It was what desktops? Something desktops. Oh man, what easy name just went out of my mind. Anyway, so it is just like a Citrix solution. No, Zen Desktop is from Citrix, right? But Microsoft also has a virtual desktop solution, and the role, there's a name for that role. That's very easy name. Okay, very small things just sometimes go away from my mind.
You mean a remote desktop?
Yes, remote desktops, exactly. Thank you. So, thank you, Mohammed. So here, remote desktops is just the same like Citrix solution or VMware's Horizons solution. That's the same as the, so VDI, we call it VDI as well, virtual desktop infrastructure. But anyway, you can just move all these type of configurations away from your on-premises to what's the difference between Azure Migrate and Azure Site Recovery? So Azure Migrate provides a centralized hub for assessment and migration to Azure. Using Azure Migrate provides interoperability and future extensibility with Azure Migrate tools, other user services, and third-party tools. Well, okay, interoperability. So suppose you're doing a phase-wise migration here, right? So, suppose you say that, hey, we have like total of 10,000 machines or maybe 80,000 machines, and we can't migrate everything off in what 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Maybe it's a multi-year process where first normally virtual machines that client desktops don't migrate, right? Unless they are virtual desktops or VDI environment or Citrix like environment, application and desktop virtualization. So normally servers migrate. Clients are obviously, you will have a tablet with you or a laptop with you, and the virtual desktop will open in front of you, or your tablet, and will be connecting to domain controllers through the internet. So it's going to be servers always that's going to be migrated, and the servers, so they're saying interoperability. So this just means that, hey, you can through Azure Migrate, you're going to stay connected with Azure, and whenever you want, you can migrate away. Okay, this month we're going to migrate away 5 servers, we're going to test it, and then next month we're going to migrate 10 servers and we're going to test it. Next month and so on, we're going to migrate 20 or 30 servers and we're going to test it. So this means interoperability. This also means one more thing, that suppose you migrated one file server, or you migrated one database server, and then you saw there, hey, first of all, it's expensive. You didn't realize that, suppose, and after 1 month you're saying, oh, this database is having a lot of traffic and it's kind of expensive. Why don't I migrate back? So Azure Migrate it can be a one-off project that, yeah, let's just go away, go pack up, close the branch, throw out everything, and go away to the cloud. So it could be used for one-off project, or it could be a continuous connectivity between your local branch and your Azure. Whenever you want to migrate up there, you go ahead and migrate, and whenever you want to migrate down here again. And I've heard from my friends as well that, hey, we have migrated 5 or 10 of the servers that 2 months ago we migrated up there, after realizing that because of the performance, because of the budget restraints, we had to migrate them back to our branch as well. So you can just keep it that way. You're not packing up, you just want a migration service to be there. So anytime you want to migrate up there, anytime you want to migrate back as well. So you can do that too. It's migrate just doesn't mean that, okay, that has to be, you need to pack up and then you can use that. No, you can just keep it like that. Just configure it once and move back and forth servers between your on-premises and cloud. You can do it that way as well. The Azure Migrate server migration tool is purpose-built for server migration to Azure. It's optimized for migration. You don't need to learn about concepts and scenarios that aren't directly relevant to migration. So yes, they provide migration tools. Okay. There are no tool usage charges for migration for 180 days. So first 180 days, first 6 months, they're not going to charge you for using any of the migration tools. And from the time replication is started for a VM, this gives you time to complete migration. So you only pay for the storage and network resources. We're going to use replication now, and you're going to see that how replication obviously has to be used when we say replication. So how can you migrate this machine? It's going to create a copy of this in the cloud. This is what they say migrate. Isn't that we are moving the machine and it's not going to be here? No, the best way to even migrate is that you replicate this machine and create a copy of that up there. It's not going to be active passive partners. It's not going to be active passive partners. The machine's copy is here as well. Suppose during migration something happened, your connection went down, and half of the data was up there, half of the data is down here, and the packets start dropping, and you actually lose your machine as well if you don't go with the replication way. So it replicates or makes a copy of this machine up there, and then it shuts down this machine back here. You don't either you want to have a synchronization partner, then you can go for Azure Site Recovery as well. But if you want to migrate away, it still replicates the machine. So in case the connection went down and half of the data was crossed and half the data is still remaining, so you're not going to lose your machine or get the data deleted, end up having some deleted data or corrupt data there. So it replicates, make a copy of that machine, and the copy is still down here as well. Suppose that machine up there actually could not start and it's corrupted now, you can again try the migration as well, right? So that's why they're saying that we're going to replicate actually, and that replication will help us safely put the machine up there. Okay. There are some questions there. One of us says during migrating, the server on-prem will be available for users or will be down. So this is the best thing to do do it during the weekend and not during your when the users are using that and office time. So definitely migrations are always done on the weekend, and it's better that users are not using that server because some of the services will be down, and then it will be able to migrate. So no, users cannot access that server in that case. And second thing is, Milab says, in previous lab we did a sync on-prem AD to Azure AD via AD Connect. If we were to do a migrate, then Azure Migrate of the DC is what need to be followed. Yes, exactly. So you have to use the Azure Migrate application if you want the domain controller to be up there. You don't want to create the whole domain controller from the beginning, and you already have a domain controller that you've been working for 2-3 years or 5 years, then it's better to just simply move the machine up there. Suppose it was a physical server 10 years ago, and but you want to migrate. So Azure Migrate says not only that it can migrate anything in the physical server, but also suppose you had a physical server and you don't want the migration app to be assessment tool to be going there to the physical server. So create a virtual machine with a replica server or additional domain controller, migrate everything to the virtual machine here from the physical machine, and migrate the FSMO roles as well. Then demote this machine properly, and then you go with the process which we're about to do now, right? So that would be the process of going from physical server to other one as well. And okay, so Wakas says agreed, and that's the best way to go for just an opinion. Yeah. Oh, you're saying that above one that first synchronize all the users and then go ahead synchronize with that Azure Active Directory. Yeah, your users. So you should have a backup here. This is a virtual machine. You can just shut it down. Okay, make a copy of it. Make 20 copies of that and put it in 20 USBs. So you have enough backup here. Second thing is, if you're moving the whole domain controller, then there are limited scenarios up there. You want a forest inside your private vNet. That's why you're doing that. Otherwise, they're saying, hey, we have our Azure AD. Why are you moving your domain controller up here? Why don't you just synchronize all the users here, join these machines to this Azure AD? Why are you bothering to put the whole domain controller here? Well, in case you want to use the actual all Active Directory features, then you want to move it up there. Otherwise, Azure AD is there as well. Anyway. Okay, so and Chintan says looks like it will be available as it will not lose connectivity with any device until fully migrated. Yes, so it will be available. And then Moda says after migrate, the client still connected to that domain, or I need to rejoin them again. So, well, the clients will be still, you're moving a machine, right? So suppose that machine had 200 windows joined to the domain. So when the machine is up there, we didn't actually change anything inside the Active Directory. We just moved the machine up there. Now, those clients which are down here has to connect through this guy, VPN, with private network to that machine, right? So, and they will still be able to authenticate, the servers here. Otherwise, you can just go for endpoint, Intune, Microsoft Intune, register your machines with Intune and join them to domain here in domain controller. Then it's a bit more pricey. It's not that pricey, but you have to better handle all the hosts if their domain controllers and authentication is up there in the cloud. Better have endpoint manager or Intune as well to really regulate the machines when they are joining the domain or getting authenticated.
So, sorry, just question, Amir, for the DNS server. It might be a silly question, but I'm thinking about it. When you move the domain to Azure, as you know, the DNS on premises, when the client asks for computer, the client use DNS to forward to root hint, right? To forward query to another server or to internet to find the answer, like iterative or recursive query. So when you move it to Azure, how the Active Directory contact who to find the answer of the client?
So this is going to be happening with the VPN. So the VPN from the branch has to be connected to Azure vNet, and then if the VPN is connected, then local machines can communicate, they can ping. We did the VPN lab as well, where the local machine actually pinged the machine in the vNet. So if one machine can ping, 1,000 or 100,000 machines can also ping. So we should have just a VPN direct connection from the branch to that. So they will be able to access DNS, they will be able to access Active Directory, they will be able to access everything through the VPN. That's the only way. And okay, and Vinod says the key would be DNS settings of the on-prem to access the Azure VMs. Yes, you can have local DNS here as well, and you can have the VPN connection through VPN. If they can ping, they can also do name resolution. They can, if ping works, or VPN, just you can keep on opening all the ports there, DNS port, the Active Directory port, and database port. Just open all the ports there and they will be able to send the traffic. So name resolution traffic will also work that way. But yes, if they are in the branch, they are connecting only from the branch and not from home. So then obviously you can just put a local replica DC of the root. This would be the root DC then, right? The first DC that has the FSMO roles, and this would be then the replica DC with the DNS and DHCP, local DHCP as well, if you want the DHCP of the Active Directory to work. So this would be considered as a main branch headquarters, and this would be just a replica DC that is just replicating everything from the cloud to provide it to the users. Suppose you have a disconnection here, the replica DC will still be able to authenticate the users, just like in other scenarios. You can have this scenario as well. We can use host file as well. Yes, if in case the DNS is not available, we can hard code that. Yes, put it in a host file as well, the DNS IP. Okay, guys. So this is the whole scenario that we were talking about. The lab is kind of longer, and but yes, any question is welcome, and there are hundreds of scenarios after that too. So once we have used the Azure Migrate service, then you will know that, okay, this is a step, this is a step, this is a step. Okay, now I can go for this other scenario, that other scenario, this other scenario. The more you play with it, the more you get confident on this. Okay, so what do we need to do when we are creating our diagram and lab here? So we need to configure, just like before, this is the first course where I have a lot of hybrid labs. I always wanted actually to have hybrid labs, but none of the colleges where I'm teaching would have allowed me that many classes for one course. This is double the time of one course we are spending on Azure, but since there are so many Azure jobs there, it's going to be always all going to be useful for you. So okay, and what's going on here? Yeah, so it's a Toronto branch, and what we're going to do is we already have a Hyper-V, right? So I tend to use another new machine. It's better. And second thing is let me just quickly explain that too. So we have a Hyper-V hypervisor just like before, but here we will, if this machine is also our domain controller, this Hyper-V is installed added to a operating system, right? So, and that operating system in many of your cases is actually a domain controller. So we don't need that domain controller. We're not moving that domain controller. We're going to create a virtual machine now. We're going to create a new VM now. Exactly. That's why we are. Oh, okay. Thank you. So here, so yeah, it's going to be a virtual machine. Inside that virtual machine will be what? An OS, obviously, and what? The Active Directory. I'm going to install an Active Directory here, and obviously a DNS. So there will be a DNS here and an Active Directory, and it's going to be totally new forest. And even if it's an old forest, the main thing is you need to know the ingredients of that. Ingredients. So the configuration of that. So AD, DNS, and OS. I'm just going to have this virtual machine. So now this virtual machine is inside Hyper-V, and this virtual machine needs to move away from here to Azure Cloud, right? So the domain controller is this. If you have this Hyper-V, and we all have this Hyper-V as a domain controller, whether it's a domain controller or a member server, it does not matter. We're not moving the virtual machine that is a domain controller plus having Hyper-V. We're moving a virtual machine that is inside the Hyper-V. We're moving that machine that is living, that's I'm about to create inside Hyper-V, right? So I'm going to move that machine. So that whole machine will be moved. This machine is actually, this Hyper-V is on top of an operating system. This is actually a VMware machine. We're not moving a VMware machine. We're moving a Windows Hyper-V Microsoft machine, right? So that's the main thing I wanted to mention here. So let us go ahead. Right? So first thing, I'm just going to quickly create that environment, and then we're going to go ahead and go for Azure as well. On Azure side, what we need to do, we're going to talk about that too. So I'll go for, why am I here? Yeah, for the, oh, actually all the icons moved away. Yeah, VMware Workstation. So I'm just going to open the VMware Workstation. Those who are quietly, silently, secretly following, in that case, I'm just having a member server. So there's a template machine I've created. So what you have, if you have a Hyper-V inside, that's okay. And RAS. So I'm gonna create a template machine directly here. Well, it's a template machine. What's a template machine? Maybe many of you haven't created that before. So it's just a machine whose copy I'm creating. And what is in the copy? A member server, Windows Server 2016. That's it. So this means that it's going to be from scratch right now. That I'm using it. I don't want to use that. That domain controller Hyper-V with it on a domain controller. Although it's okay to use that, it doesn't matter. But I'm not using that. So the lab should be as clear as possible. So it's going to be just Azure Migrate Lab. Okay, and I'll create it in D drive. Finish. It gets created right away. All I need to do is give it a lot of RAM here. I have a 32 GB RAM in my laptop here, so I'll just try to give it as much so it could really go a bit faster. So I'll give it 16 GB RAM to the virtual machine. Then I'll install Hyper-V inside, and then virtual machine will have actually 4 GB RAM there. So it's going to be also fast. And I'm keeping it on NAT. So this I'm going to power on. I need to install Hyper-V inside. So this is like purely from scratch kind of thing, where I need a virtual. So first of all, this is the VMware virtual machine, Windows virtual machine. Inside this, I'm going to install Hyper-V. So then I'm going to install the virtual machine. I'm going to put an operating system. Then I'm going to install Active Directory inside that. So that's again the nested virtualization. So when it starts, before that, I'll just go for this. So right now, this virtual machine is getting created, which is just a member server, right? And it is on NAT as well, so it has internet connection and well. And second thing is that I'm going to create inside this. So I need to install this in this member server Hyper-V, and I'll restart. Then I'll install a virtual machine here. and I actually need to give an OS to this machine now, and that OS will install. I'm going to give it more RAM, maybe 8 GB, so it's going to install that operating system fast, and then I need to install Active Directory DNS. So I'll go a bit faster here. So if I just put that in steps, create a new VMware workstation VM, and then go for install Hyper-V, major steps only, Hyper-V and restart, because it's a two-step process. Then create a new VM with the Win 2016 OS and internet connection, and fourth major step would be that install AD DNS inside, right? AD DNS, and do not give static IP. We can give static IP here as well. I'll just let it get an IP from DHCP. For domain controllers, normally it's not recommended. It does give a warning for that, to, hey, you have an IP from DHCP somewhere. Are you kidding me? So I'll say, no, I'm not kidding you. So, but when it goes up, when it moves up there to the cloud, it will get an IP actually from the Azure DHCP. Unless you want to make it a static IP, yes, you can do that too. Usman says 60 GB is enough. What should be the maximum disk size for our VM? Yeah, well, yeah, 60. Actually, I have 200 GB, but 60 GB is enough. Yeah, 60 GB is more than enough. So, and do not give static IP. Although, if you give static IP, that's also okay. You can just go when it is migrated up there. You can change it. So, if there is a static IP, then it is also okay. DC must be connected to internet. That's what we need to. Okay, so I'm gonna check out back there what's going on, and well, there it is. I'm just gonna click next here. This is when a clone is getting created from a properly created template machine, so it asks all that. I don't have a product key, so I'm just gonna go for trial to do this later, and then accept and give the password small shift123 and without shift123. So that's a class password we've been using all along. So this is the password, small right? Okay, and click finito, and then I'm gonna log in. So it's a member server. I'm not installing domain controller on this. And I think it only happens to me for any machine I change. It just happens that first time when I log in, it does not show me any display, so I just need to restart the first time, and then after that it just starts giving me display. So I've restarted that machine, this machine, and oh yeah, I restarted it. So after this, done. Okay, so you'll see that it's going to be a bit fast. So just going ahead, because we've created this environment before as well, I just want it to be having no traces of previous labs where we may have done different stuff that might be in conflict with what I want to do. So it should be a kind of untouched machine, untouched from labs machine. So here, this is the member server inside which I'm just going to install the Hyper-V Hypervisor. So I'm going to go to Add Roles and Features here. Okay, it's still starting. Add Roles and Features here. Next, and next. So it's Hyper-V I want installed. So I'm going to click Hyper-V, and it should be okay if I have clicked, yeah, Add Features, and so if I have selected this, if I go to Settings, oh, I did not, seriously. Okay, so if I go to Settings, I'll just shut down quickly and do that. And in the processors, it's Intel VT I need. This should have been clicked. I thought from the image it was clicked, but it's not. Okay. Oh, you did. So 10 samosa for you. Yeah, okay. You know, it's so easy now to provide samosas. It's just virtual samosas or pictures of samosas. So yeah, I should have one picture ready with 10 samosas inside. So I'll go for processors here. And okay, I can't believe my template machine didn't have that setting there. Selected Intel VT. Okay, power on. Just go ahead and install Hyper-V, restart, and then create a virtual machine. Now that virtual machine has to be having more RAM. So because we need to install an operating system. Now let me just tell you one more step, extra step here, and that is install Hyper-V and restart. After that, copy an ISO of Windows 2016 inside the downloads folder of this VMware VM, right? VMware VM. Right. Why we need to copy an ISO of Windows 2016 inside this machine that we just created? Because the virtual machine, this virtual machine that we're about to create inside the Hyper-V needs to look for an ISO inside this Hyper-V machine. The ISO has to be copied into this. So then this virtual machine will be able to see it. And once we have mapped the ISO to this virtual machine that we're about to create inside Hyper-V, then you know, it's going to install the operating system. So is the samosa that tasty? All of you like it? Yes, Yang, it's well, yeah. If something, if we eat something from, you know, childhood, then yeah, we love it, and it's spicy as well. So at your own risk, try it.
So which folder do we need to download the ISO?
Download
Like
folder
which?
anywhere inside this machine.
No, sorry. Which virtual machine? Like one in Hyper-V or the one we are creating Hyper-V?
Yes. So this is the host machine. We can refer to it as host. So in this host machine, we need to copy ISO of 2016. I haven't installed the Hyper-V yet. So this is the host machine where we're going to install. So I'm going to, even before installing Hyper-V, if you've installed it, that's okay. But even before, I'm just going to do this task first. I'm going to copy from my laptop an ISO of Windows Server 2016. And what's that? Oh yeah, software and seriously. And I'll go for Windows Server 2016 Hypervisor. Oh, where is it? 2016? Oh, there it is. Okay, I'll just copy that. And I'll put it. I haven't installed the Hyper-V yet, right? So it's in the host machine that I'm just gonna paste this 2016 because the virtual. Then I'm gonna install Hyper-V now, and then inside the Hyper-V I'm gonna create a virtual machine, and that virtual machine will look inside this host. Hey, where's ISO? Where's ISO? So it's gonna look it inside here. Okay, while it is copying that, I can save some time here and go for my, oh, serious, it's not letting me go back here. That's not good. Okay, while this is going on, let me grab a glass of water. Okay, so okay, it's pasting, and that's it. I just let me free up some RAM by closing some other million applications and sites that I've opened. Wow. Okay, so add roles and features. I'm just gonna go for that role here, and next, and I'll go for Hyper-V and add features, and then next, finish, right? So I'll go fast here. So really, it's still thinking. Okay, done. Next. So here, next and next. So it is asking for this Ethernet 0 here, right? So this Ethernet 0 must provide internet connection as well, right? So this means that our VMware workstation, okay, Zion says gonna use a new VM instead of make a clone from some machine. Yeah, you can create a new VM as well. So this is supposed to be kind of a demo, and if you can catch up, that's okay. Otherwise, follow the video later as well. But to try to understand now. Okay, so here, this Ethernet 0 is the virtual machine network adapter. And if I right click and go to settings of this virtual machine, so there is one network adapter here, and that is NAT. So this one network adapter this network adapter is this Ethernet 0 here, right? So it's a VMware workstation is providing that. So the Hyper-V is about to create a virtual switch. That virtual switch is connecting to this network adapter that is connected to NAT right now. So yes, there will be internet connection here. So that's good. Well, we have just one network adapter here. In production environment, maybe you have 4 or 5 of them, and you nick team them for greater bandwidth and throughput. So I'm just going to select that only one here and click next. So we're not actually selecting any of this virtual machine migration. That's for local Hyper-V to Hyper-V migration scenarios. So I'm going to click next. And yes, the virtual machine will be placed in these local folder structures. I'm going to click next. And yeah, I'm going to click restart as well, because Hyper-V gets installed in 2 phases, and after restart it still keeps getting installed. So I'm going to press yes and install. And I'm just going to check that if the ISO was copied fully. Yes, it is copied. So now I'm okay that it can restart automatically. So once this is installed and restarted, then it will finish the rest of the installation. Then we're going to create a virtual machine inside, and we're going to give this ISO to the virtual machine. And then it's going to start the installation of operating system inside a virtual machine inside Hyper-V, which is inside VMware workstation. A lot of insights. Okay, it's restarting now, and so this is what I did. Install Ad Dns and do not give static IP. Well, you can give, it's okay, it doesn't matter. I should not be even writing do not give. Yes, you can give, it's okay. And normally your domain controller that you're about to move from your production environment on premises will have a static IP, or an IP from DHCP which is reserved in DHCP and nobody can take it. So once that is done, working on features, then it's gonna restart. So it's just one machine having 16 GB. I should have given 24 GB actually. Okay, shutting down again. So if I go to the further steps here, so on Azure, okay, that's on Azure. It is also good to create Bastion server and get a member server. This is on-prem. So on premises. Get a member server, install Hyper-V role. That's what we're doing right now. Install a virtual machine with domain controller inside. Okay. And make sure the VM has internet connectivity. Okay, we're going to make sure all that. So we are pretty much done with this. Oh. So if I go back here, it's again shutting down. Seriously. No, we migrating the VM which inside the Hyper-V. It is possible to migrate the VM which inside the VMware. The VMware environment virtual machines can also be migrated pretty much the same way. We need to actually understand in this lab how Azure Migrate really works, right? Then it's VMware or Hyper-V, whichever you want. So once you see how VMware or Hyper-V based have been migrated, it's going to be pretty much similar the same way for the VMware machines as well. But obviously, VMware is a non-Microsoft vendor. So what kind of extra stuff you need to do there? Well, it's a pure Microsoft environment right now. Well, the main thing is I didn't set up the VMware, but if you understand Azure Migrate side of it, then I don't think VMware side will be difficult for you. So it's just finishing the rest of the Hyper-V here. As soon as it is done, I'm just going to create a new virtual machine inside that VM and attach during this wizard of new virtual machine creation in the host Hyper-V. Then, okay, it's done. I'm going to click close. So Hyper-V is done. I'm going to go to tools and there's a Hyper-V manager, right? So this is the weird name for the host on top of which we have this Hyper-V. So I'm going to right click here and go to new. That weird name is going to show up there in the cloud as well, and we should not be confused about that. So I'm just going to change the name and restart for that too. So it's going to be on-prem host, on-prem Windows, on-prem Win. I'll just name it something like that, on-prem Win. I'm just changing this of the host, the name, because it's gonna be registered up there. So the registration process is exactly the same that you did in Azure Site Recovery, but then the interface up there is Azure Migrate. So I'm just gonna restart that. So on-prem host, I just renamed it and restarted. So the steps: rename host as okay, that was here. Or whatever name you want to give. Okay, it's back, logging in, and okay, server manager. Now Hyper-V is there, but it's just a member server. It's a host now, and I'll just go tools and open Hyper-V manager and create a virtual machine inside. Yay! So it's the on-prem Win. That's the host name. And I'll go for new, right click here like the Z's and go to virtual machine and next. So I'll just name it on-prem DC. How about that? On-prem DC. Well, just for this lab, otherwise normally it's just some weird name in a production environment. So on-prem DC, and store the virtual machine in a different location. So I'm going to click next. Generation 2 is okay. Next. So I'll give it 8084. Oh, there's 8084, right? 8 GB RAM. And I'm gonna put also use dynamic memory for this virtual machine, and it's gonna automatically then try to ask Hyper-V for more RAM if it needs more. 8 GB, 8084 or something like that. Next, for connection, I'll go for virtual switch. So please create a virtual switch that is connected to the physical NIC here. Physical NIC is the network card of the host here, on which Hyper-V is installed. Next, and it says that this is a virtual disk getting created now, and it's dynamically expanding. It's not gonna occupy the whole space on your disk, so it's just gonna dynamically expand as you put the software inside. Next, and now I'm just gonna put the install an operating system from a bootable image. So I'm gonna click browse here, and I already transferred that ISO to the host downloads folder. There it is. I'm gonna double click that and click next, and there's a finish button here. Yay! So we reached the finish line. Okay, so it's created, but it is off. So I'm just gonna right click and start first. Right click and start first, then right click again and connect. Okay, so start and connect, and then it finds nothing. Yay! What? Okay, so yeah, I just need to restart and click that. I need to press any key here to press Control or Delete. You know, it's gonna then grab the disk. So I'm just gonna restart here, reset here like this. See this? So now see this? Press any key to boot. This we need to put here. I deliberately missed that because I was showing you. So I'm just gonna do it the third time now. Restart. This time I'm not gonna miss it. So I'm pressing any key on the keyboard now, and there you go. It starts. It grabs that. Enter, and then it starts installation of Windows Server 2016 operating system inside the virtual machine that is running on top of a host, Hyper-V host here. Okay, so it asks for the time and currency format. So I'm just going to change the time and currency format because I want the time zone to be correct from here. So although if you missed it from here, you can just change it after logging in and correct your time. Canada, English Canada. Next, install now. Now when this installation is going on, we can just go up there to cloud and just create our vNet, resource groups, storage account. Okay, it's asking for next. Oh, I don't have a product key. I'll just click that. And then I'll go for data center desktop experience. You can go for standard desktop experience, it's okay. You can go for data center desktop experience, it's also okay. We're just installing Active Directory here. Next. Custom, and nothing here. Next. So it's starting to install the Windows. Now, while it is installing, we can just use this time to create our Azure environment as well. And these were the detailed steps, so I'll just put them also. These were the major steps, so okay. I'll go for detailed steps. Detailed. Okay, so I paste it here, and then on Azure, create new RG, okay, resource group vNet and storage account. vNet default subnet, and if required, then Bastion subnet. Now, my free account was finished, so I requested again, and it gave me a student access, and that student access I gave my George Brown ID as a student, and then I got $100 more. Okay, so there are questions there, and Ahmed is saying now we're, oh, okay, that was done, I think. And I was saying, once we migrate from Hyper-V, what is then the state of the VM in Hyper-V? Does it remain shut down and we cannot turn it on? We can turn it on technically, we can, but Azure Migrate during the replication asks that, hey, once I replicate this machine up there, do you want me to shut it down and replicate, or do you want me to keep it on and replicate? So it's better to keep it shut down and replicate if you have a VPN environment through which you can ping, because there's an exact copy being created up there. If you don't have a VPN connection, then yes, you can keep it up, keep it on as well, and it's gonna still replicate up there in Azure Cloud. So, but it's not active passive partner. That active passive partnership can only be created with Azure Site Recovery. This is not an active passive partner. It's just another copy in case we lose our, or the copy is corrupted up there. Wow. Azure Cloud is up there. Hey, it's also on the earth. I mean, like, it's a data center. Okay, so here, yeah, let me just go to the resource group. Okay, group. So let's create that while this Windows is still, actually it's reaching its end as well. I'll go to Azure. Oh. Okay, I'm inside Azure now. I'll go directly to the vNet and create resource group and vNet together. So I'll go to virtual networks here and add, okay, add, and resource group network watcher is still there. Okay, I'll create a new resource group for today, and that would be 06Nov2020 RG. Okay, here, so it's vNet again. So it's your first name dash vNet, whatever you want to give. It's not West US, it's East US, and IP address. In the IP address, yes, it's the default vNet and default subnet as well, and also Azure Bastion subnet, right? You know what? Let's create a Bastion subnet as well. But what was the name? We can just create it later as well. But Azure Bastion subnet, that was the name, right? So the name has to be correct, but that was also proven wrong. If you mess with the name or just add something else, it still gets created. So I'm just going to click add subnet here, right? And I'm going to go for Azure Bastion sub and net. So I'm creating Azure Bastion subnet here as well. Why do we need it? So when the machine reaches up there in the cloud, so what happens here? So if the machine reaches here in Azure, so it's gonna be given once the machine moves here, it's gonna be given an IP, and that would not be a public IP. It will be actually a private IP, right? So when it is private IP, how can you access that? Either you can assign separately manually a public IP to this machine, or you can go ahead and create a Bastion host right now, Bastion subnet, and through Bastion subnet just go to its this moved migrated domain controller, which received just a private IP there. So through Bastion subnet you can connect to this as well. So that's why we're creating a Bastion subnet. And guys, actually it's gonna ask in the security to create a Bastion subnet. So this is not the way to create it, although it gets, it's gonna ask in the next screen actually. So creating here is not a good idea. I'm just gonna cancel out from here, Bastion subnet. I realized that, and yes, this is our default vNet and subnet IP, which is okay. I'm gonna go for security. So Bastion host is actually going to be created here, right? Bastion host. So, and click enable, and then what's the Bastion name? So that this is it, Azure Bastion subnet, what we were doing before. So when it has a separate facility for that, when it has an option for that, then wiring. So 10.0.1.0 and /24. Pardon? And yeah, we need to give it a public IP, so I'm just going to click create new, and your first name dash PIP. So whatever public IP, so your first name dash pip, and press OK. So enable Azure Bastion subnet 10.0.1.0/24, new public IP address, right? So once that is done, tag, and we can just out of habit we can just give some name here. So it's Azure Migrate Lab, and review plus create, and go ahead and create. So resource group, vNet, and Azure Bastion subnet and default subnet are getting created. And it is getting created. When it is Bastion host, we know that it takes more time. While this is getting created, we can go for storage account. While this is created, we can go for storage account. Storage account does not need this. Oh, okay. I need to make sure that resource group is created at least. If I go to resource group right now, I'll just duplicate from here. And go to portal menu and check if the resource group is created, so I can create attached subnet source groups here. Nope, it's not created yet, so I won't be able to connect my storage account to this. While this is going on, I need to check my on-premises as well. We were doing that to save time. So okay, it's asking for username password, so I'm just going to go for class password here. Okay, and bs enter. Okay, so I'll go for 3 buttons here. So once we log in, I'm just going to start installing Active Directory and DNS. So if we go back to the diagram here, Active Directory DNS will be installed now. Will be. So, but here we have just created Azure vNet and Azure resource group, and we're about to create Azure storage account. And vNet Bastion subnet as well. So Azure Bastion subnet. Separately mentioning this is mucho importante. So I'm just checking out. Okay, I'm logged into the machine here within Hyper-V and waiting for the server manager to pop up. While this is doing here, hopefully nobody's getting confused with what I'm doing, and I'm just checking the Azure environment here as well. And oh, seriously, it's still getting created. Oh yeah, I should have said that earlier. Oh, seriously, it's getting created. Okay, you can also try that. Now here I'm just gonna go for portal menu. I need to create a storage account, right? I'm gonna go down to storage account here and add, because that machine will use this storage account. So resource group is today's resource group. Yeah. And your first name of the resource group, your first name, SA, which is storage account. And today's date 06/9/2020. And yeah, always it has to be some food. I'll go back to biryani here. So it cannot be capital. Oh, I already put capital in November as well. I'll go back to biryani here, and N will be small, and make sure that 2020 is also small. Okay, I just think I should come up with some new jokes. So here, East US and standard is okay. Account kind is storage v2, general purpose storage account. We talked about that in the storage topic. Replication is RAGRS, which is okay. We're not gonna replicate, but if you want to replicate, that's also okay. So whatever is the defaults here, other than the name we gave, so we're gonna keep it that way and click network and king. So yes, it's gonna be accessible from over the internet, and it's gonna use Microsoft Network as much as possible from the branch. Okay, so data protection. And yes, if you want to have containers that can have retention points there, so then you can select that. I'll just leave it as is and click advanced. And yeah, all the default features here that we talked about before as well, tags. And in the tags, I'll click that name, and that tag that we created, it's gonna come up. We're just gonna use that, and review plus create, and then create. So storage account getting created now. While I'll go down here to the for now standalone server, and I'm gonna press yes here. I am not putting any static IPs here. Normally, whenever we create a domain controller, it's better to put a static IP there for the first network card, and second network card should be, connected to internet if you want in our training environment. In production environment, normally it's just one network card that's providing you internet as well as local LAN connectivity to other machines. And also in domain controllers and in servers, normally best practices do not provide internet connection, right? They're not connected to internet. Okay, for security reasons, obviously. So here, I'm just gonna go for, this is the local server here with a weird name. So I'll just change that name, weird name, to say this on-prem DC, right? Okay, and change the name quickly, on-prem DC, and press O and K. Now it has a pending restart. I don't think it's gonna allow me to install Active Directory when there's a pending restart, so I'll just give it a restart of this machine that is on top of a host, Hyper-V host. So while this is restarting, okay, there you go. So it's back. I'll send Control-Alt-Delete here and go for Active Directory and DNS. It takes a little more time for Active Directory and DNS to be installed. Okay, I'll go for add roles and features and quickly install Active Directory. The new forest will be created, the new root domain will be created, right? So I'm going to click add roles and fee and chars. And I'll go for the second one, Active Directory Domain Services, and add features. I'll not add DNS here right now because Active Directory, when it's being configured, it's going to install the DNS for us and configure us the forward lookup zone at least. So I'm going to click next. Nothing here. Next. These are just the binary files. Next. I'll click the restart. If it wants to restart, it will. Otherwise, it won't. Press yes and install. So it's just the binary files, and at the end of it there will be a link to promote this to a domain controller. So I'll promote this to our domain controller. So also I'm trying to put some new jobs on my website there. I opened that site, Cloud Engineers Academy, and there it's latest ID jobs -Canada. So that is also there. So there I'm actually putting those jobs which actually people, recruiters contacted me and offered me these jobs. So obviously they are for Azure and for infrastructure administrator. So Unix admin as well, but these are totally recent jobs. As soon as I'm contacted by a recruiter, I tell him or her that, hey, can I upload it on my jobs? So these are latest job. The sooner you apply, maybe you get the response right away. So this is the job site link here. Well, it's gonna benefit you, so that's why I'm just putting it here. I'm putting it in new jobs in the WhatsApp group, other than the job Google group. Okay, it's I'm just gonna promote this server to a domain controller quickly now. This link. So it's asking for a domain name, or actually a forest name, the root domain name obviously. So it's going to create a forest for that too. So add a new forest, I'm going to click that. And then the root domain name. So on-prem domain, wow, what a name. So local, on-prem domain.local. And click next. I'll make it a full screen, the VMware Workstation host machine. Okay, so now I'm on this page and I'm going to give the DSRM directory services restore mode, password, small abc, abc, ship 1, 2, 3. So in production environment, it should be different. So from here, you can not only do maintenance, troubleshooting, but also restore the Active Directory from backup. Next. So it's just saying that it's a create DNS. I can't find a DNS locally here. So obviously we're in the process of installing the DNS, so that's why it cannot find. So we can ignore the on this page. And next. NetBIOS domain name for single name access to Active Directory by any legacy applications or even newer application. So it gives a single name here as well. It pops up. Okay, so on-prem domain, just the prefix of that name, the first part of the name. So nothing here. And next. Then it asks for where it's going to install the Active Directory, and IP address on host and Hyper-V are DHCP, right? Yes, it is DHCP, and we can give you a reference for the IP address host. You can give my reference, like DHCP. No, you cannot give my reference in DHCP. Sorry, I'm just kidding. Yeah. No, it went so smooth with that above comment that I had to attach it with that. So yes, sure. Yes, you're right. In fact, that's good because they specifically mentioned me there in the job. Hey Amir, are you available? So yes, you can reference me as well if you want. Otherwise, yeah, some recruiters can say, hey, I just offered it to few admins there, so how come, where do you get that? But normally they don't. They just want you to be recruited by them, and then they can eat half of your salary. So yeah, that's okay. Okay. Yep. And I'm gonna click next.
No, I think Chintan means like we can add you as a reference, so they can call you and
Confirm
get the
that,
reference. Not just
yeah, I was the manager, and he was the perfect employee of the year. And I'm about to cry now while he's going, but he's the best Superman if I ever heard. Yes, I'm gonna say that. Don't worry.
okay. Thank you.
I'm just asking, like recruiter asking now, how did you get this job? So how did you find it? So
See, he was meaning that what I thought. Vikas.
Okay.
But don't worry, yeah, I can praise. Okay, so let's click next. And yeah, that's it. So prerequisites need to be validated, and I'll make the screen bigger. I'm not making it bigger, so we'll not confuse where am I working on. I'm working on the virtual machine that is installed on top of a host called Hyper-V. So otherwise, I'll just now make that screen bigger now. So this is the name of the machine. So it says that first of all, if you have Windows NT, then first of all, you don't deserve to be in the field of IT if your company has Windows NT, right? So otherwise, it's not going to communicate 2016 with Windows NT, which is a very old domain controller. Second thing is saying that, hey, you don't have a static IP, which is okay. It still lets us install. That's good. And third thing, you don't have a DNS. We're in the process of installing DNS, so we can ignore all three. And click install. So now it's going to take longer time to install everything. It's going to automatically restart, and then we will have a domain controller to migrate. Okay. Well, it's going to take forever to restart now. So we can go back to our diagram first of all. So above, up there in cloud, it's okay. The resources that we needed to create are there, but we need to go to Azure Migrate Service now and try to check out what's going on there and what are the options there and what options are we using there, and the details of other options. So I have, as you already know, that I spent some time creating those million screenshots here. They're not million, they're maybe 50, 60 or 80. Okay, so these are some of the screenshots. So I had to remove some screenshots because while I was going one way, there was a dead end there. So then I had to go the other way, so I had to remove all the previous screenshots and then create new screenshots there. I'll add those screenshots in the LMS as well. But Azure Migrate, process of discovering your local machine. Okay, I'm just going up and down. So Azure Migrate is a service that we're going to go now. And inside the Azure Migrate, there are two areas: migration. So Azure Migrate Server Migration, and then there's Azure Migrate Assessment of the server. So that is up there. That is not showing, but we're not going to go there and we're going to check it out. But here in Azure Migrate Server Migration, so that's like you're going down to the point right away that it's not a very big environment and there's a few servers that you want to migrate. Then you go for one by one server migration. Otherwise, if you have a huge environment, then you go for the above option. We're going to go there and we're going to check that out as well and talk about that. The lab is revolving around the server migration here, where there are 4 major steps: discover, replicate, migrate, so test migrate, and then migrate. It doesn't say that test migrate here, but we're going to see that these are the major steps basically. And then each step also is kind of time consuming. Some of the steps are time consuming in Azure as well, but we just want one intact machine up there. That's why I created an Azure Bastion subnet, so we could actually go inside this machine as well to check if it's still in one piece. But let's go to Azure Migrate now. Before going there, I'll just check out one more time if it has done restarting. No, it's not that soon. That's going to install the main controller. So it's still restarting and it's going to take time. While on-premises is busy, let's go check out Azure now. So in the Azure Migrate now, okay, it's machine is applying computer settings, but it stays there for a longer time. And where is Azure and Migrate? Oops. Okay. Sorry. So storage account was created. That's good. But we need to go to portal menu here, and then in portal menu we can go down to, oh, actually it's not here. It's not in the favorites. So we need to go to search here. Search. And well, since I typed it already, that's why it's coming in my search history. But in your search history, it might not be coming. So just type, go ahead, Azure and Migrate. Just type directly everything. Azure Migrate, and then Azure Database Migrate, and their Azure Arc is there. Azure Arc is a new thing. It's just central administration for both your on-prem and cloud environments. Azure Arc is a central administration for both on-premises and cloud. You can see both type of servers, both environments. That's really cool. I'm looking forward to do some lab on Azure Arc as well. Yeah, so Azure Migrate, I'm gonna click Azure Migrate here. And once we go to Azure Migrate, so there are those areas or sections there. Windows and Linux servers, are you migrating those? Or SQL and other databases, are you migrating those? Or explore more scenarios where assess and migrate web apps, web applications, migrate data and assess virtual desktop infrastructure. So VDI, you're going for that. Find guidance on various, so you have remote desktop services installed, RDS, or you have Citrix deployed there with virtual desktops and Zen app and Zen desktops. Or if you have VMware Fusion, so it tackles all the scenarios. But we are going for Windows and Linux. We're not going for databases here. So Windows and Linux here, and we're going to click Assess and Migrate Servers. Once we click that Assess and Migrate Server, so there it says, hey, first you need to create a project. And inside that project, then you can decide what to do, right? So that's why we're not seeing anything here, but it does say here, create project. So I'm going to click Create Project here, and okay, my free trial is disabled, and I have Azure for students, so I'm a student. You know, if we remain student all our life, then we learn a lot. So okay, and then I'm going to go for resource groups, and 06November2020 RG today's resource group here, and then we go for migrate project. So do we have a name for our project? Yes, we do, and we're coming up with one. So your first name dash migrate project, and it's are you in US or are you in Canada? So I'm just gonna select Canada here, but there are very selected names here, selective names here, few names there. Okay, correct, and that's right. So Canada, and then create. So that's it. I mean, like nothing else. Just give a name, give a resource group, and create, and obviously the geography. Where are you located? Okay, remain student. That's been. Yeah, that's like a proverb, right? That's like a saying from a scholar that, you know, even if you're a teacher, you remain a student. You always learn. Okay, so let's click create. Oh yeah, but don't remain a student. You're right as well. Yeah, you need to move ahead with, you know, job environment. Okay, guys. So once the project is created, okay. So there's a question: in a real-world migration, would resource groups for this migration project be different than the ones used for production? Yes. Suppose now those resources that we created are meant for this Azure Migrate, so those would be there, but definitely resource group for different production projects would be different, definitely. So if it is, you know, 3 or 4 projects going on, 3 or 4 resource groups will be there. Team-wise, you can create resource groups, and department-wise, you can create resource groups. So yeah. Okay. And so guys, once we create a project here, then you can see there are 2 major sections here. One is assessment tools and other is migration tools. We're pretty much dealing with the migration tools because I wanted to go to the action right away. But anyway, well, I did try to go here as well. What is this for? Azure Migrate Server Assessment. It's going to, suppose you have like 3,000 servers. Wow, that's a big one, right? Maybe you have, if you have 3,000 servers, then you may have 100,000 client machines, right? 100,000 employees having their desktops, laptops, tablets there that are connected to your company environment. So for those, you have 3,000 servers. And in that case, you want to assess that if your environment is good enough to let you migrate easily, right? So it's going to check your bandwidth. It's going to, so if I go for this one, first of all, what does it do? Discover your on-premises machines by using an appliance or importing a CSV format or importing in a CSV format. Click discover to get started. So either you can get the whole machine names list and information in a CSV format, or you download an OVA file. Anyone knows what's an OVA file? I think many of us know that. What is an OVA?
Yeah, OVA is a virtual machine for Oracle. Is VirtualBox.
For?
VirtualBox. OVA is a virtual machine for VirtualBox.
So .OVA format is also used for one more thing.
Is the to import it from the virtual machine to.
So okay, and this is the appliance that they offer to download from this Azure site, and you can download it in your big Azure environment, or a Hyper-V environment, or suppose you have a big ESXi environment, VMware ESXi environment. In that case, you will have long lines of Hyper-Vs here, and each Hyper-V have like 10, 20, 30 virtual machines there. So that's, suppose these are the ESXi VMware Hyper-Vs, and you have virtual machines 10 here, 20 here, 15 here, 30 here, according to the hardware they have. Maybe they have 1 terabyte RAM, maybe they have just 500 GB RAM. Oh, okay, I thought that was a question. So, but that was a long breathe there. That was nice. I mean, it's good to hear that. Okay, so beautiful. But import export, right? And you have a big environment there, so you will download an appliance. What is an appliance? It's just a virtual machine. It's gonna be an .OVA appliance, and that .OVA appliance can be imported. So suppose that's a appliance. Appliance is just a virtual machine, and if it's in .OVA format, then this means that you can import it. It can be imported, it can be exported as well, .OVA format. So when you import it in your environment of VMware or Hyper-V, So it gets imported as a virtual machine, and it has some assessment tools inside, and it starts discovering your how many virtual machines you have, how many storage hard disks you have, how much data they all have, how much is the network bandwidth. It's going to start discovering your whole environment, how much is the bandwidth here. So it's going to discover, make a report, and give you recommendations according to that report, that yes, your bandwidth is kind of okay, but you can't actually migrate maybe a virtual machine with 200 GB disk, but you can migrate a virtual machine with 80 GB disk, or maybe so it's going to give you all the recommendations. So that's what it is. That is, you can download an assessment appliance. It's going to discover the whole environment. It's going to give you a report, and you will have first-hand knowledge of, oh, my network environment, if I improve my switch speed here, suppose it discovers that, okay, you have Cat5 here, if you put Cat6e Ethernet cables there, or if you have bandwidth which is less, and you can improve it to more bandwidth there, so it will have those recommendations, and you can follow those recommendations, upgrade your equipment for an Azure migration according to your virtual machine hardware and software configurations, right? Like it says, all OVA is Linux based, right? No, OVA is just an import-export format, and it could be a virtual machine with the Windows inside or Linux inside. It could, or even Mac operating system inside. But OVA is a format of a virtual machine which can be imported or exported. If you want to import and export machine, it's OVA. This format is there. So it's just an import-export into virtualization environments there. Okay, so it doesn't have to be Linux. It can be any operating system inside. OVF and OVA, yes. So there is OVF and there is a OVA as well. OVF, Open Virtualization Format, OVA, yeah. What is OV and A? Okay, Open Virtualization Format and Open Virtual Appliance, Virtualization Appliance. So this is, okay, let me just put that. Open, oh, did I put Open Virtualization Appliance, right? And that's the same thing, Open Virtualization but format. So so that's in VMware. You normally see OVF there as well, virtualization and format. But what's the significance of these two? Why are we talking about that? Because when we go inside the assessment only area, they're going to see the Open Virtualization Appliance there as well. OVF actually exports 3 files for a VM, VMDK file, as well as a manifest file and configuration file, and OVA just exports a VM with one file format. Suppose your virtual machine name is domain controller, right? So or DC1, so DC1.OVA. And you see that machine with DC1.OVA format or DC1 with .OVF, in that case you will know that it has been exported from some virtual environment, or it is available to be imported to some virtualization environment, right? So that's just it's a single file format here, and this is a 3 file format. Why 3 file format and single file format? Both are used for import and export of virtual machines. Why there are 2 types? Because this once exported, you can still make editing, right, to this VM, because the .vmdk file is still open, right? .vmdk file is still openly available to be connected to. So while here, Open Virtualization, it's just everything is zipped into, compressed into this .ova file. It's not available for editing. So we can say that not available for editing. So guys, my recommendation is do join the in-depth labs of VMware, because that's really mucho importante. Very important for today's cloud environment. VMware has to be learned in depth. Okay, so anyway, still make editing, yeah, so we can say that, right? We're good. So this is just for OVA, and there could be any operating system inside. So let us go for our what we were talking about. That okay, that's for import export. We get that. So where is that in Azure Migrate? Here, assessment tools. We're not gonna actually spend more time here, but I'm just explaining what is that, when do we use it. We're gonna go we're gonna go get our hands dirty, and then here in migration tools. Although in big environments you need to go for this one to give a report to get approval, basically. Discover. If I click the discover here under the assessment tools, I'm gonna click discover, and you can see here what we discussed already, that to discover your own premises or cloud environment, you will need to deploy in the Azure Migrate appliance. So this is a virtual machine that can be downloaded and imported into your virtual environment, either VMware, Zen server, Citrix, or this Hyper-V. Break. Okay, if you insist, then oh yeah, we didn't have a break. We used to have breaks. Yeah, the time went 1 hour back. So yeah, we're gonna have a break at 8 o'clock. So okay, and Mohammad Awaz says 20 minutes. Mohammad Awaz, it will be 10 minutes. Why? Because you haven't invited us to that must be. So I'm so heartbroken now, and you haven't even told me the name of that must be shop. Seriously, come on. Okay. Oh, okay, I pass. Okay. So we're all praying. So okay, guys, and I'm sure you're gonna pass. So follow the steps here below to set up configure. So what we're trying to say here is that download an appliance or a virtual machine, import it in your environment, and then power on, connect to it, and run the assessment tools. So that's what this whole page is about. Generalize Azure Migrate project key. So they say that if you're going to download, this is the second step, download Azure Migrate, and you can see the .ova file, right? You can download that. It's just a 50 MB file, but you have to create that security key, and that key you have to run with that virtual machine, in that virtual machine, so it will be then legitimized as coming from Azure. If you don't have this key, you cannot run this assessment tool. And then set up the appliance. Before you start, ensure these prerequisites are met to set up the appliance. Either create a virtual machine in vCenter server. Many of you have already done the VMware course, or you are handling some VMware environment. So vCenter server is the centralized application that handles the whole VMware virtual environment. This is one big application. The whole course or certification of VCP-DCV revolves around the features of vCenter. That's what I teach in Net Plus and in Humber. So my suggestion, at your first free time, go for VCP course. This is a must for your resume. Anyway, so vCenter server from the downloaded OVA file. So they're just saying that if you have a big VMware environment and you have a vCenter application deployed, so then import this OVA appliance into your VMware, vSphere, vCenter environment, and then file or execute the PowerShell script from the downloaded zip file on an existing physical or virtual machine. So 8 vCPUs and 80 GB of disk. Are you kidding me? 32 GB RAM this needs, 8 vCPUs. Wow, are you kidding me? So it needs a heavy underlying hardware, right? Use my offer 15. Okay, so here, well, this is what we understand, that download this heavy machine and then follow the instructions to really assess your environment. Our environment is so small that I don't think we need to assess that, but my suggestion would be then that go for this lab as well separately. I didn't create that lab because, well, you know why? Because see this name of your appliance, it's asking for name of your appliance. If I go for your first name, your first name VM something, right? So, and then click generate key. So logged in user does not have enough permissions to deploy artifacts. User should have at least contributor permissions to deploy artifacts. Now this one error already, I mean, I can see that I don't need that assessment machine, but then I thought, hey, I have to really migrate the machine, and there will be a lot of challenges there. Going through this assessment one is, so that's why I'm saying that you can just download that. Still, I don't think you have that kind of hardware. 32 GB RAM you need to give to this machine, right? And if you have total of 32 GB RAM, then what do we do? And it's not going to power on if you don't have 32 GB RAM. It's basic requirement, right? So anyway, but we understand that in a big environment, you want to assess the whole environment. You want the whole environment to be assessed go for this page, download this machine, import it in your Hyper-V or VMware environment, and then follow the instructions of how to run the assessment. That's what this page is all about, right? Okay, Milad says third party versus Azure Migrate for assessment. What else would others offer for migration? Assessment is one thing. Otherwise, normally if you're going for, not very large scale, you're going to go for servers, then this is it. Actually, it's not it. First of all, guys, let's go out of this. Hopefully we understand what we're talking about here. So I'm going to close this. So it says add more tools here for assessment. There are more tools, and it says migration tools, add more tools here as well. So if I go for assessment and tools and then click the add more tools, so then there are partners that can actually help you. Start by choosing a server discovery assessment tool. So these are just tools by the partners, or it's not the partner, but it's offered from partners of Azure that can also run. So yes, there are many other assessment tools from third party as well, and that's just assessment. If I go back to Azure Migrate and migration tools, add more tools here, and then you can see Carbonite, Migrate, Current, Tech, Surpass, Mass. So these are third-party tools. So they do provide not only their own, but they provide third-party tools right here in Azure. Otherwise, yes, there are a long list of Azure Migrate tools, third-party tools that some big vendors also offer. Semantic, or I don't think McAfee offers that, but yeah, some other. If you go for Azure Migrate third-party, you will see a very long list. So, but they do offer here third-party, which they already tested. So this is the area. Migration tools is what we need to concentrate on. So there's Azure Migrate, server migration, and then there's a discover, replicate, migrate. These are the steps that we need to take. So let's come back after the break and do it. Okay. So 7:54 here. We can come back at 8:15. Oh, okay. So. Okay, 8:15. Cool. Okay, let's come back at 8:15 and my domain controller is done. Yay, my domain controller is done. So all we need to do is Azure Migrate now. Okay, so 8:15 the class starts. Let's come back. Alright, so resuming now, back from the break, and I'll go back and check on-Prem DC, so it's done. Installing domain controller, I'll just log into this virtual machine inside the Hyper-V host. I'll do the Control Delete. Excuse me. And it's logging in. Yeah, so it's a domain controller. It's okay. I just logged in and I'll keep it that way. And let's go up to the Azure Migrate while it is starting. So we were inside the Azure Migrate here, and so there's that discover process here for the migration tool. Oh, well, for the Azure Migrate server migration, right? So let's go for that directly now and click discover. So in Azure Migrate server migration, I'm going to click discover now, and once we click discover, so it says that so what is your environment? So there's that do we have VMware vSphere Hypervisor? No, we have Hyper-V. Yes, with Hyper-V. Physical or other AWS, GCP, Zen. So you can actually migrate in Azure Migrate from AWS, from Google Cloud Platform, and also from Zen Server physical or other, right? So Azure Migrate actually is having those features already that you can migrate easy to instance from AWS as well. So anyway, yes, with Hyper-V here, means we can create VM server on VMware and migrate as well. No need any converter tool. Yes. Oh well. Yes, you're right. No need any converter tool because it should just create the virtual machine conversion. It should do the virtual machine conversion there. But frankly, I haven't done that. So I think you will try and let me know, or it's just a Google group away or a YouTube video away to know that. But I'm not sure if it's not going to convert because Microsoft Azure virtual machines are different from VMware. So migration process should include conversion, or it will require us before the conversion. So I need to check out that myself as well. Okay. And okay guys, here East US target region, and confirm that the target region for migration is also East US. Yes, actually, well, it's not East US. The target region for migration, once confirmed, cannot be changed for the project. After confirmation, the server migration tool in this project will allow replication and migration only to the selected target region. Yeah, we're good with that. I think I did click that option that we are in the same region, but actually I did not show all this. Oh yeah, there it is. So I did click the confirm, and everything went smooth. But yes, we're not in a East US right now. So in production environment, be honest, right? Oh, okay. So I'm gonna click that and create resources. If you don't click that, it's also okay. It's gonna let you still create that. So let's click create resources here. So we're first giving the discover machines the correct information. It's a Hyper-V on premises as the Hyper-V, and then target region is the East US, and we're kinda there in East US, or we're near East US. So we're not that far. So it's kind of weird there in East US. Those who will be watching the video later, we're in Toronto, Canada. Okay, disclaimer. And if you're going to watch this video after 1 year, so Trump is losing, and right now Biden is in the leads. There's election going on here. Yeah. Okay, anyway, so just kidding. And now here it's saying that, hey, can you discover, it needs to register your Hyper-V host just like before we registered our in the previous lab for replication, Azure Site Recovery. We're gonna do pretty much the same thing here. So prepare Hyper-V host servers, download the Hyper-V replication providers. Remember that Azure Site Recovery provider.exe is the same file we used for Azure Site Recovery actually, and well, that's the name of the file as well. So we're gonna download that into this Hyper-V host, and then we need to download this registration key as well, and that's the key this file needs to register this Hyper-V host on premises. So I'm going to click the download button if it lets me download. Man, I really hate this ad blocker. Don't run on this page ever, but don't run on pages on this side. Okay, this one. So exclude. Okay, it's refreshing. Clicking the exclude button and it kicked me out. Done. And I'll go down to discover again. And I'll have to give the same information Hyper-V again. And now I'm just there. So it is the same tool we downloaded last class. Yeah, we can use that tool, downloaded one in our laptop as well. And once I click the download, it's still not downloading. So I'm just gonna go for the other. So where is this tool exactly, as you said, Milap? So I'm gonna go down here to my downloads folder, and it's there. Azure Site Recovery is this one. Azure Site Recovery provider.exe. It's already there. Exactly, that's the same tool. Oh, okay. Chintan says right click. Oh man, last time also you reminded the same thing. So yeah, right click, and then there is save link as. I'm gonna click that, save link as, and yes, it's letting me download that. Thank you, Chintan. Again, for the same thing, I should have remembered it. So it's stopped here, so I'm just gonna click this arrow and click the keep button here. Yay! So it's downloaded, one thing, and second thing, I need to download that registration key as well. So I'm just gonna click the download button, and it actually pops up that now. So I'm gonna save that credentials file as well, because in order to register you need to have this unique credential file available. So this Azure Site Recovery Provider, I need to copy inside the host, the Hyper-V host. It needs to register that Hyper-V host, on top of which I have 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 30 virtual machines, right? It needs to discover that host. I'm going to copy that and downloads, and right click and paste. So first the Azure Site Recovery Provider tool is there, and
Amir, you save it on inside Hyper-V on domain controller or in the virtual VMware?
so I saved it on the host and not in the virtual. So let me show you. I did not save it inside this machine. I saved it on the actual
Okay, got
host.
it.
Yeah, here, Hyper-V.
Okay, thank you.
And here. So once this software is copied, I'll grab the other file as well, and that is Azure Migrate credentials file that is unique to everyone. So I'm going to paste that file here as well. So this software site recovery provider will need this migrate project credentials file.
Sorry, Amir, from where you got this file, please?
Where did I get that?
This file.
Here, this button, download button in under prepare.
Download button. Okay.
And once we downloaded and copied this file inside the Hyper-V host, not the domain controller, but the Hyper-V host, then I'm going to run that Azure Site Recovery Provider here. Double click that. You know, I should do that whole stuff with VMware later as well. So yeah, this is the same Site Recovery Provider tool, and I just on is recommended, so it's gonna update it in future with Microsoft updates, which is okay, and click next. And then yes, this is a installation location, which is okay, and I'm gonna click in and install. Okay, so it is done, and continue to register this server in Azure Site Recovery Vault. Yes, so we need to register it. So I'm going to use that file that I copied, the credentials file. I'm going to click the register button. Register button will ask me the file, the credential file. So I'm just going to click browse here and go to downloads folder. So that's the file for credentials that I need to double click, and it's gonna grab that, so it can see that, oh, it's a migrate project, alt name where it's going to save this unique information on registration of this host. Hyper-V site name is this. Okay, so well, it got the file and I need to click next. And then there is connect directly to Azure Site Recovery without a proxy server, which is okay. So it does ask that, hey, you're connecting to Azure Site Recovery, which is okay here to say without a proxy server, and click next. Because it's going to create a vault. That vault is actually created in Azure Site Recovery, and that vault has unique identifying information of this host. And then we're going to refresh again that page back in Azure, and then it will discover the name of this host. What is the name of my host? Local server on-prem Win. Oh man, I should have gone for on-prem Hyper-V, but that's a big one. Anyway, on-prem Win. Oh, okay, so this is how to unregister previous key from vault. Okay, all it says uninstall it. You know what? I had the same issue.
Yeah, I did the same issue. He asked me, you have already registered, and I uninstall it. That's it.
So there is an option on the bottom, say like go to the site aka.ms/unregistered servers. I don't know. Can you click on that?
But Mohammad Awaz, you were able to register it like this now successfully after uninstallation? I don't think you will be able to.
Yeah, I uninstall it, and then I try it again to.
You can see my screen.
Yes. So there is already registered in. Yeah. So it's not gonna.
Yeah,
go
this
ahead.
is the same with happened with me. Just uninstall it and start again.
Okay. Now I want to know like what is on the last line.
Oh, it's as known as unregistered the server. Oh yeah, it's just saying that go to the previous Azure Site Recovery setting and unregister from there, and then it will be unregistered from here as well. So, but we deleted that already.
Thank you.
Mine is done. Well, yeah, you know what? I would have asked you all to create a new machine. I should have asked that. My bad. This is one of the reasons that I wanted a new machine as well, and then previously done tasks should not be. So Milab says I still get the same. So Milab, you uninstalled it and then you reinstalled it and then you're still getting it. Is that what you're saying? Ouch. So guys, well, it's my bad that I should have told you to go for a new machine. Because I had that issue. Now I remember that when you were having that, I should have pointed that out as well at the start, that do not use the previously site recovery based or identified machine in previous site recovery vault. Although we've deleted that on the Azure side, but this machine and its registry still has all the information about the previous site recovery membership. So that will require a new machine actually, unless somebody was able to just uninstall, restart, and then try it and it worked. Other than that, this machine can be new as well if you run sysprep only on this machine, but it's gonna give you, then you can install Hyper-V. Oh yeah, you have to redo the whole thing. Sorry. So yeah, at this point I also forgot to mention. Okay, Chintan is showing the screen as well. Unregister a Hyper-V host in a Hyper-V site. Hyper-V hosts that aren't managed by VMM are gathering into Hyper-V site. Remove a host in Hyper-V site as follows. You have to be on Azure for that, right? Replication, disable replication for Hyper-V VMs located on the host. Dissociate policies for the Hyper-V. This is in that Azure site recovery that we deleted already. Oh, that it shows here. Site recovery infrastructure. So when we were doing that, we should have properly unregistered that host and then should have deleted that class. So it's on the Azure side, in that site recovery where it was detected or was given a member for. Oh, okay. So there's a script there. Thank you, Milab, for that. Oh, where's that? Chintan, can you share that link as well? URL. So that's good for others as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chintan and Milab, for confirming that. Oh, that URL of that page. Yeah, just you can put it on the WhatsApp and the chat, and thank you. So guys, those who are having issues there, you can just check that PowerShell script, and that's a great effort and search by Chintan and Milap. So that's very good. Thank you guys for sharing that solution. So I'm going to click that URL which is in WhatsApp as well, and remove servers and disable protection. Yes, there you go. And this is the whole script that Milap, you said that you just ran that script and it simply worked, right? Unregistered. Okay, thank you for confirming that. And it's just copy and then run it in PowerShell, or did you put it inside notepad file, change its extension to the .ps1 and then ran that file? You just copy pasted it? I just pasted it directly in PowerShell. Okay, good. Thank you, Milab, for confirming that. So guys, if you see that error, actually that error page is not there, but that error, if it comes, it's in the video previously, so you can run this script there as well. Thank you for this. Okay, I'll just put that in the notes and I'll then upload it for you. Okay, so that's T-shoot. If you get an error, excuse me, for registering your VM during discover process, then run the PowerShell script on this URL. Okay, so that's a good T-shoot step. Alright guys, let's go ahead and so after running that, are you guys able to register it successfully? Obviously, if it works, then you should be able to register now. Okay, there's a yes there. Thank you for confirming that. And let us. So here in my local, in Hyper-V, it is done here on the Hyper-V side. Excuse me. That means that this Hyper-V host, by the name of on-Prem Vin in my case, should be registered up there in Azure now, right? Should be. So I'm going to just confirm that, is it registered there or not. So here it should be showing in registered, so all we need to do is refresh the page, and then here it should show that now. So I'm just going to refresh the page. It's going to take us one step back. I'm going to just give all. I'm going to refresh the page now. Excuse me. And go further down again to discover, right? Once we click discover, and yeah, we need to again provide the correct information, yes, with Hyper-V, and once that is provided, EastUS was already something that they got information for, so yes, I got my and you should be getting your Hyper-V host there. One connected is showing there, so that's good. But I'm going to click that finalize registration. You need to click that finalize registration. So it's just going to finalize that yes, I registered that Hyper-V, I'm connected to that. So you need to click that finalize registration now. If it one connected is showing there, this one, right? So let's click finalize registration. And that kind of takes time. So first it registers the host, and then later we're going to see the, the virtual machine there. Wow, staying time. Yeah, man. You guys are heroes. Chintan and Milap. You both deserve samosas from all of us. And, a nice recipe of must be, maybe you don't like must be, but yeah, samosas maybe. Okay. Thank you. All right, finalization of the registration is done. So finalized registration is done, and so it says registration finalized here, and we can go back to our Azure Migrate, and you're going to see obviously a different.
Amir is still zero connected. I need to refresh or what to do?
So
Refresh.
you got one connected here like this.
No, zero.
No, it says zero.
Yeah, yeah. This is making me laugh. I need to refresh the page.
Yeah, refresh. If it is one, then
Okay.
refresh. If it's zero, then yeah, we don't. Oh, actually, if it's one connected here, it is zero now. Definitely, I realize that. Obviously, it will be zero at that time, and then refresh, and then when you come back, it's gonna be one. So yeah. So guys, once you come back, if you see one connected here, then I'm just gonna click the Azure Migrate now again. Once it is this. And okay, so I'm just going to click Azure Migrate now. And once you go for Azure Migrate, so you can see that there is Discover, but now there's a Replicate also available, right? So we're gonna, first we went for Discover, now we're gonna go for Repli and Gate, right? So I'm just gonna click Replicate now. And in Replicate, are your machines virtualized? So it's asking in Replicate these many questions. So first of all, are your machine, select type of virtualization. So obviously we're gonna still select the same thing. It's yes with Hyper-V, and our machines are with Hyper-V. Then the second thing, we're gonna click next here now. Once we go to Replicate, obviously we're gonna give the same answer. On the virtual machines level, it's saying that import migration settings from an assessment, which we did not do. We did not download that assessment OVA appliance, or we did not create a CSV file that has properly formatted columns, giving the names of the virtual machines. So what we're saying that, okay, we're going to go for specify the migration settings manually. Let's select the manually option. Once we select the manually option here, then there is one machine. Suppose, guys, you had 5 machines there. It would have detected all 5 machines, obviously. So this is the machine that is there, and we're just gonna select this machine, right? And so that's all we need to do. This is a domain controller that is powered on, and it was detected, and we're selecting it now, right? And click next. Once you click next, so now there it's gonna ask the target location, and that's why we created the resource group and virtual network and subnet and everything, right? So resource group is 6 November 2020, today's resource group. Replication storage account, so remember we created a storage account, so that storage account we're gonna give now with Biryani, right? Okay, and then there is vNet, so obviously we created one virtual network here, and the default subnet is already selected. So then it's asking also, hey, you want high availability features for the domain controller that your VM that you're about to migrate from on-premises to cloud. So, well, in a production environment, I would go for availability zone. Well, that is the only option here. Availability set I would have gone for, but it's not offering that. So availability zone is that, you know, it's going to create a copy of that on the other zone as well. But the thing is that you need to tell your, in production environment, you need to tell that, or you need to know already that how much it's going to cost. Obviously, if it's a critical machine, you need to make it highly available and redundant. So here, it's up to you. You want to go for that, go ahead. Otherwise, we'll just leave it as is. And here, excuse me, Azure Hybrid benefit, and that is if you brought your own license. Suppose you purchased from Microsoft from another, you know, so maybe you had that Microsoft guy already there, and he or she gave you the license much cheaper. Then you can bring it here as well. So we don't have that license there right now. So we're, after selecting all the basic options, we're going to click next. Ready? Excuse me. And on-prem DC, then there is automatically select matching configuration, or what you can do is you can select what number of processors and RAM you may want to give here in this environment, right? So automatically match is also a good idea, or you can give some specific. So now remember that we gave 8 GB RAM to the machine, or 4 GB RAM maybe you've given, or maybe 2 GB RAM you've given there. So it's going to automatically give that much processing and RAM here as well. And 2 processors were there in Hyper-V. So 2 cores and in my case 8 GB RAM. So it might detect that automatically, or you can just select yourself. So I'm just going to keep it to automatically select matching configuration, and whatever RAM I gave down on premises, give that much RAM and processor here as well. So that's also very good, but you can select yourself as well. Excuse me. And OS type here is Windows, and OS disk is yeah, on-prem DC. So that's just one virtual disk, and I'm going to click next, right, after selecting all this. And then it says how many disks you have, and so, well, all selected. Obviously there's just one disk. Suppose you had 3, 4, 8, 10 disks there, then which disks you want migrated and which disks you want leave behind, so it's up to you. We have just one disk, so that's it, and click next. So review plus start replication. So now that is starting replication, right? So it's going to create a copy of that machine, which will serve in the migration process as a safe move of this machine from on-prem to cloud. So there should still remain that copy on premises in case our internet connection has some issues and half data is there and half data is there on the other side. So I'm just going to click repli and gate. So let's go for replicate. Starting server replication. You know, there was that option, I think I missed it, or it's going to come that do you, yeah, in the migration it's going to ask that option, hey, do you want that machine on premises to be shut down while we migrate, or do you want that machine to be powered on, stay powered on while you migrate? So that option is still yet to come. So this is replication, but this is not migration yet. Migration step is still the next one. So that's a very safe transfer of virtual machine up to the cloud. And if anything goes wrong, there's still a copy on premises available. Although we would do a backup of the on premises, obviously, before even starting all this. So, yep, that's replication going on now.
Amir, do I need to enable replication?
Enable?
Yeah, because I got error fail because of enable replication.
So you click the replicate button, right? This one?
Yeah, I did the same you
Okay.
did.
At the end?
And
Oh, can you share the screen like
yeah,
Chintan?
and
Or give a screenshot? Or
yeah, I can give you the screenshot. Okay.
oh wow, starting server application is actually done. Successfully completed the operation. Okay, so enable application failed. Okay, can you click the failed button? Failed, yeah. So protection couldn't be enabled on the virtual machine. Error, enable protection for virtual machine. MeLab failed as the machine has some stale settings from the previous protection. Okay, so it's still saying the same thing about, you know, when you unregister. Milap and Chintan, you didn't get that, or I missed last part, and repeat again. Milap, you didn't get that? Okay. The replication settings from a previous protection attempt. This is protection when we were registering the machine, that is called protection attempt, is not cleaned up from on-premises virtual machine. So clean up the stale protection settings by following the instructions here. Okay, so yeah, Mohammad, you have to, I think, rerun that script and let it finish and then continue with the process. It did not really get registered, this means, or some process of registration is still not complete in the background.
Yeah, maybe. Okay.
So
Thank you.
yeah, and I'll go for sharing. So in the chat also there are some comments. So I say, sorry, Amir, I missed the last part. Can you repeat again? Well, I actually started that replication. How can I repeat that? No. Did you delete the previous VM that was replicated? Oh. So Milab is asking otherwise if you deleted the previous VM. Ali, where are you? Which step are you? Did you click the replicate already? Do you see the replicate button clickable? So, oh yes, then click the replicate and follow the wizard. I just followed the wizard. If I do that again, that's gonna be a problemo, I guess. Oh, you're okay. Cool. And 1% synchronization. So yeah, and so there's yeah. I'm just gonna go ahead and there's an overview there as well, and replicate process is actually done here as well. I'm just gonna refresh on this page. There's a refresh on this page as well, right? Refreshing tools. So after that replication is done, then there's a refresh here, and once the page is refreshed, we can actually click that overview as well. So I'm just going to click the overview. In the overview it says replicating machines and one healthy, and it is healthy 100%, that's what it's saying, and in progress is this jobs view all. There's an in progress, then there's test migration and migrate will be the next steps. If you click the overview, you will see the next steps as well. First is replicate, and then second is test migration. That has to be done obviously, and then the actual migrate will happen, right? So these are the next logical steps there. But if we go down to in progress job here, and there you go, this job is in progress, nothing here. Okay, so I'm just gonna go back here and seriously, replicated machines here. So there's on the left side in the overview, and then there is replicated machines, and you can see that it's 0% synchronized, yay, or yay. Normally it doesn't take forever. I tested it and it's not okay. If I refresh, just keep refreshing, guys, did it move from 0 at all? So oh, Milab has 1%. Hey, you have friends in high places in Azure. This means because okay, Safe has 1% as well. So you guys have, you know, friends in high places, like maybe 13th floor, 14th floor. Okay, so here 0%, I'm just on 0%, so I have friends on first floor, second floor, I guess. Okay. Yeah, it takes time to refresh. So if I go inside this and double click that on premises, I just double clicked it, right? So I'm inside that, I just double clicked on top of it, or just single click. And 0% health is healthy, test migration status never performed, configuration issues, no issues, last synchronized, not. But you can see that it's pretty much looking like the same as what we tested or what we saw in Azure Site Recovery. But obviously this is migration, that was synchronization. So there is that difference. And there in Azure Site Recovery, it was actually showing us test failover, right? And then actual failover. Here it's saying test migration and then migrate, right? So obviously there's a big difference between the last lab or site recovery and this lab. 0% and oh, there's no refresh button here, so I'm just going to go back here and refresh here. Oh, it's not even 1%. It's crazy. I think it's the upload. How about if we go for what was it? Test net or net test? Test net. No. Speed test, yeah. Speed test. Well, I don't have to put that in. Site recovery is for DRP purpose, right? Yes, you're right. So it's disaster recovery. And Milab says in Hyper-V you can also see the progress. Oh, okay, that's good. If we go to Hyper-V here, as Milab says, so I'm just gonna go down to the, so it's running and then in the replication. So the virtual machine is selected and the replication is there. I'm just gonna make the page bigger. And then we right click on the replication and there's a view replication health here, right? And does it give me any progress here? Still loading. Size of data yet. On premises, Microsoft Azure, initial application in progress. Okay, mine is still initial. Minimize this. And there is this sending initial replica 37% under status. 40% initial replica, 43%. So if we go back here, I don't know why I'm doing a speed test right now. Okay, anyway, I'll just go for, no kidding, is it done? No, right. Well, that was the other one. This is the one. It's 0% refresh, and now it is still 0. Yeah. Wow. I think I should tell my kids to stop PlayStation 4 and the YouTube cartoons and the online game Roblox and the YouTube sad drama to which everyone's crying right now. Okay. On premises DC 0%. Why is it not moving? Guys, did it move for you right away? This is ridiculous. How is it possible? Fresh. Waiting for first recovery point. Oh. After that, 1% will start. Or maybe it shoot up to 100% and then waiting for recovery point. Okay, so if we go down here, so yeah, it is, the initial replica is actually done. If I go for view replication health, it is healthy. Size of data is 6 GB that needs to be uploaded, so it's a 6 GB machine that's going up. And refresh again, waiting for first recovery point. I'll just click on top of that. So 6 GB is not that big, Xiang. So nowadays, if your upload is good, and uploads are getting better and better. So I was just testing my upload here, 90 Mbps. Bell provides that very good upload. Network to modem is 100,000 Mbps, and from modem to So yeah, uploads are getting better. If upload is good, yeah, you can just really go for it. And 6 GB is not big if your uploads are good. Otherwise, big would be 50 GB, 100 GB, 200 GB will be taking forever, and you need good bandwidth for that. And if I go to really, so anyone else done or at certain percentage, like maybe above 50%, or have we taken a second break already? Still same for me. Okay, Milab says still the same. Ooh. If we were doing that in the class, then I would have said, see, since we are all doing it at the same time, in the same class, same network, so it's going to take forever. But now we're using different. Wow, Azure didn't say 0%. Oh man, really? That's why I was using empty machines, but this is about the domain controller itself. Direct connect will be fast. Yeah, in AWS Direct Connect. Yeah, we just have to spend a few $100 or $1,000 per month. But yes, it will be real fast. Even if you connect the internet via cable, will be faster. Yeah, actually, I'm connected with cable right now, and always my Wi-Fi. Actually, DSL router is on the other end of the apartment, and I'm at the other end, so the signals are actually not good. So I'm using a long wire from there to here. It's Pakistani cable. Yeah, Cat 6e is there as well in Pakistan. So yeah, all the standards are there. But yes, actually I did got it from my cousin. So so I need to ask him that where did he get this cable from? But it was a long one. It is a long one. But so guys, everyone on 0%, 2%. Wow! Hey, congratulations to Ahmed and Azaldeen and Milab. Woohoo! 5%. Woo! Yeah. You know, there should be a chorus here. Yeah. Like gold against Manchester United or something. Real Madrid, actually. So, Really? We're watching the snow melt right now. 3% early. Okay. So we have some good news about 5% improvement. 5% improvement, seriously. What's improvement? So that's just kind of good news. I think everyone on Rogers slowed down. Yeah, hey, anyone on Bell? So you're slowing me down. Whoever is on Bell right now. Or maybe I'm slowing you down. I don't know who's slowing who down. So Rogers, Comwave. Alright. Hey, you're on Comwave and you're 3%. How come I'm not showing any percent here? That's really strange. Wow. Imagine if it goes till 10 o'clock and we're just looking at the screen and percentages. Seriously. You know, these migrations, they always do this. Yeah, oh, okay, this area is not fiber from inbox, okay. Yeah, in our building they had fiber installed for Bell 2 years ago. So yeah, uploads are heavy. They're excellent. Wow, okay, so I think that's, oh, hey, I'm done! Woohoo, yay! Or it calls for another one, yeah! It's done, right? This one, protected. I'm just gonna double click that. It didn't give me any percentage, but, yes, I'm done, actually. Protected. So, done, that's it, fresh. Okay, so this means you need to first of all shift to Scarborough and then get that Bell connection. Okay, so if it is done, then I should be, I'm going to go inside the machine and you can see that, oh yes, test migration is clickable now and migrate is clickable now. So guys, why don't I do the honors and go ahead and show you and record this in the video before 10 o'clock, right? And you guys, whenever you're, so it kind of shoots up to 90% or 100%. I think you guys will be done very soon as well. From your home, that will be easy and faster. So, hey man, from Scarborough to Brampton, you want to run a cable? Are you kidding me? So that's gonna kill our data. Even it's not gonna even cross Scarborough, and its data will be dropped. So, oh, fiber. Okay, bring it on. That's very good, actually. Yeah, it's gonna pay for that. So, but yes, fiber is good. All right, guys. So let's go for test migration. So I'm just gonna click that test migration. Obviously, this has to be done. Should be done at least as a best practice. But you can technically go to migrate directly, but I'm just going to go for test migration now, right? To show you what happens. So I'm just going to click that test migration, and it says that vNet. So which vNet you want to run the test migration against? So I give the name of my vNet, and it just simply gives me that button of test migration. I'm just going to click that test migrate and shun. The operation is in progress, starting test migration of on-prem. So that's a good thing to know realistically how long it will take for a migration to happen. So the test migration will check everything like your bandwidth and the health of the machine itself that's about to be migrated or its copy, and also, the whole statistics of migration. It's going to test all that. If it says green signal or all good, no issues. If there are issues, it's good to know in test migration that there are issues. Otherwise, if it says you're good to go ahead, then we can simply migrate the machine. So starting test migration of on-prem, I'm just going to click that as well to see the progress here. So it says prerequisites check for test failover, good. Starting test failover, so it actually is making this machine inactive and then checking and creating test virtual machine here. So it's creating that virtual machine here and then start the virtual machine again here. So then once it's checking all that. Now this is the same thing that happened in Azure Site Recovery as well, that it tested the failover and it actually mentioned the word test failover. Here it's before migration, it's just checking that can we communicate, can we correspond on quicker basis between the two machines, the replica and the original machine. But we're not actually configuring, oh there you go, it's done. We're not actually configuring the failover active passive partners. It's just checking the communication between the two sites. And yes, you can see that the test migration is good. So there is that go ahead given to me about this. I'm just gonna go back to this back button here, and I was here and it says that test migration status is this. So at this time the test migration was done. Now before I do migrate, just like in failover, we cannot click that. We need to clean up the test failover environment. So I'm just going to click that, clean up test failover environment, so we could actually do the migrate process. So I'm just going to click that clean up. And yes, in the vNet, if you've created the test virtual machine, it says that in the vNet I've created a test virtual machine. Did it? Let me just confirm that. If I go to vNet here, it's showing me a free trial while my machines are in Azure for students. And that's the only, okay, that's a bit, seriously, why did I go to vNet? What's wrong with me? Virtual machines I should be going for? Yes, guys, it created a test machine here, right? So it needs to delete this machine. So it created that test to, actually, you guessed it, test. Okay, so I'm just gonna go here and yes, this is the vNet here, and what? Really? Hey, where's the button here? Environment details is this, but I think if I go back here and on-prem DC, okay, cleanup test. So this is just a status. I should have clicked this one. Seriously, cleanup test migration. So then it says that, is there any reason? And testing is complete, delete this test virtual machine. So it was a test virtual machine created, and you can put a reason here as well, and then cleanup test. Okay, so it's now doing that cleanup of the test migration machine. No, Ali, I did not migrate the machine. I did the test migration, and it actually created that machine here and failed over to just check the whole communication is good, or are there any issues with the communication between vNet and our on-premises environment. But it did create a virtual machine here and tested the failover and everything, just to check that the whole communication process and that both environments are good for a migration. So it's doing a test migration. This is the same thing that happened for test failover as well. Test failover also, you have to clean up that environment. It also creates a machine, and then you can do the actual failover. So now it's test migration, cleanup going on, then I'm gonna do the actual migrate. That's strange that anyone else done or everyone on percentage, because I'm also scratching my head how come it went fast for me and anyone else. I think one or two of you must be done by now. Okay, so I'm just gonna click that start test migration. In this video I have to do a lot of cutting where we are just waiting. I'm gonna click that starting test migration cleanup and see its steps as well. Clean up the test. So prerequisites check for test failover cleanup, ending test failover, and clean up the test virtual machine. That's in progress right now, and it's in progress. And then we can get to the migration as well. So for VMware, yeah, that would be vSphere. I think it's not meant including or accepting maybe VMware Workstation. Maybe it does. I still have to check it out. Like go to Azure Migrate. So assess and migrate servers. Oh, okay. I want to create a project there. Migrate storage to Azure, databases to Azure, that box, virtual desktop infrastructure. Yeah, we talked about that. Then it has all the documentations there. Check. Oh, it's done! Yay! So thank God, within the class time, it is done. So this is done. I'm just gonna go ahead and click here, computer network, and then go back here, overview, And now you can see that the test migration and migrate are also again clickable. So the test migration site is cleaned up. Now I'm just going to click the migrate button. And once the migrate button is there, so now it's asked that what I mentioned before as well, shut down virtual machines and perform a planned migration with no data loss. Well, that would be a good idea, or no, don't shut down. You can just choose that too. But this is a planned migration, yes, and no data loss means that none of the end users are connected to that machine right now. So obviously you will be starting that on the weekend when no one is using that. And request for a maintenance window 4 to 6 hours maybe. I'm going to click migrate. What test migrate is available, or when test migrate is available, why test migrate is available. So just to test the whole environment, is it suitable for the migrate operation or not. So if it is successful, obviously then this means you're good to go for migrate as well. So, or we could have gone directly to migrate, but test migrate could give you some errors if your environment is not suitable for migration, right? I'm going to click the migrate button here. It's validating, and it says starting migration here. Now on first recovery point, Minab says. So guys, you have to make sure that by next week you should move all to Scarborough and get the Bell connection, right? So there's another point here. I'm on 12th floor, so that might be a good point as well. So I'm just kidding. Okay, Ali says after this migration, do we need to clean again for next migration? Suppose you have next migration. Now, no. If you have next migrations, then keep this environment intact. In a production environment, you would keep this environment intact. Suppose you're going phase wise, and this weekend you're uploading or migrating 5 servers. Next weekend you are uploading 5 more servers, and next weekend 3 more servers, suppose. So you're going to keep that environment. You're going to have to keep this environment intact. And the other thing is that suppose you introduce a new virtual machine here in the environment, it detects it right away. It's so good. There's no lengthy process to detect more newer virtual machines. It just if that virtual machine is created on that Hyper-V, that particular Hyper-V, which was registered, then as soon as you introduce a new virtual machine and refresh here, it just gets detected here. So that's so cool. And you just have to register. Suppose you have 20 Hyper-Vs there, and each Hyper-V has 10 virtual machines. So you have to register all 20 Hyper-Vs, and whenever you add any other new machine there, it's going to get detected here as well. All you need to do is then test migration or migrate, or simply just migrate. So you need to keep this environment if you want to keep on migrating phase-wise more machines. You don't have to delete that to do a new migration. In fact, you have to keep it. Otherwise, you will have to start from the scratch in Azure Migrate site. So you create a project, and then you assess the servers, discover the servers, register the servers, and then replicate the servers, test migrate, and then migrate. That's the whole thing we are doing. So I've started the migration process here. Starting migration of on-prem. I'm just going to click that. And prerequisites check for planned failover, successful. Shut down the virtual machine. So it has shut down my on-premises virtual machine. I'm going to go back on-premises and check it out. Yes. If this comes, then it is yes. On-prem is actually turned off, right? So, and then it's going to simply move this, migrate this machine. No, migrate just means that it's going to have exactly the same thing up there in the Azure. Preparing for failover, start the replica virtual machine. So it's a replica. This means that suppose your virtual machine has started after successful migration, but oh, that's done as well, guys. What's right with my connection today? Okay, anyway, so migration is done. You're kidding me? Am I kidding me? Okay, so Minab says you must have gigabit connection from Bell. So you can see the upload is 1000, right? Because there's fiber optic coming to my DSLR. So I would say, and that's like not expensive as well. So yeah, that's why I'm able to 750 upload. Whoa, you can see that 750. Normally it is 10 MB upload or 5 MB upload. This is 750 MB. So it's crazy upload, crazy. Bell only 50 MB max. Oh, okay, I went for unlimited. I'm paying $119 for just the internet, and only internet I got from Bell. That's it, because everything else I don't need channels. So every channel is on YouTube. Okay, so just spend more on internet because that's our lifeline, guys. It's done. So we can go back to testing out what's done. Okay, planned failover finished. If I go down here to my here and to the on-premises and refresh this, so the machine is there. Yes, it was a copy created up there, and suppose that copy is migrated there, and then it does not turn on, and it was moved away from here as well. So obviously then you're stuck and you're actually facing a failed migration. Suppose the machine was corrupt when it reached up there and started. So you still have an intact copy, a working copy here that is turned off. You can just try again the migration and check that where the error happened. So that's a very good safe way to migrate, that you don't actually get rid of the older copy. Now you can just right click and delete it. You can copy it somewhere else. You can take it away from somewhere else, right? Okay, add my Bell no provide more than 50. Oh, okay. Chintan says. So yeah, maybe it's in Scarborough, maybe nearby my buildings, they all have this. So okay, so guys, here machine is still down here but off. And where is our migrated machine? So if I go back to my virtual machines area here, and so this is, remember that it was test written there, so that was because of the test migrate. Now it's the actual machine here, it is running as well. And if I go inside that machine, so its overview is written, and you can see that the public IP has not been given here, but the private IP is there. So hence that Bastion subnet that I created for exactly this reason, that can be actually log into this. So I'm going to try to go ahead and click connect here, and if the machine is intact in one piece, so I should be able to, I'm going to go Bastion here and use Bastion, and the username was administrator, and the password was Azure, right? Okay, my heart is pounding right now. Unstable. Are you kidding me? Please remain stable. Okay. And reconnect. The connection has been closed because the target machine is taking too long to respond. This is usually caused by network problems such as spotty wireless signal or slow network speeds. Please check your network. Are you kidding me? Oh, it is unstable. Okay. There could be several reasons. I'm just gonna go for network first of all and check out if inbound ports. Wow, there's no rules in inbound ports. Are you kidding me? So and there's a network interface card here, so and it doesn't even let me create a new inbound rule, right? So that's the first thing. And we cannot RDP to a private IP. And security, so obviously I can try to go for a new inbound rule. This network interface does not contain any network security groups. So we have Bastion. Yeah, that's what I did. I went for, oh, okay, that was 933. Yeah, that's right now. I just tried Bastion right now, so it did not connect, but I'm just gonna connect again. It's just saying it's not stable. What was my username? It was administrator, right? Yeah, it is administrator. Otherwise, it would have given me that error. So username password is okay. Normally, man, this is saying the network connection to the Bastion host appears unstable. Why?
Maybe you need to add the domain name and then slash administrator.
Yeah, you're right. Let me try that too. And the domain name was some weird name I gave, which I did not even note down. It was on-prem domain .local. Well, I don't have to put .local. Prefix is normally good. On-prem domain / administrator connect. The network connection to the Bastion host appears unstable. Then what we can do is we can try to give it public IP and at least, you know, try to grab and also enable some so Bastion enables you to securely and seamlessly RDP and SSH. Guys, it's still saying RDP and SSH to your VMs. Let me just create a quick resource group here. Security group, and attach it to this machine if I may, if I can, if it allows me. So, okay, security group. Oh, it's NSG, not security group. NSG, and go for that and create source group NSG RDP, right? East US tags review, let's create, go ahead and create. Then I need to attach it to the subnet as well as the virtual machine. Okay, done. Go to resource. I'm going inside the inbound security port, add any. Okay, and it's 3389 destination, and its name is RDP. Add. Once it is added, outbound. Yeah, to control the outbound traffic. Okay. Inbound and sorry. Then I'll go for outbound. That's going to be source port range will be. Well, I mean, what are we going to? Yes, we can add that. Right now, we kind of don't need that, but anyway, since you were saying so, I'm just adding that. The destination port range could be source port range, RDP, and 1. Okay, add. But I need to connect it to the network interface card, and I'll click the associate here. No network interface is found in the East US. Are you kidding me? It's not even detecting that. Okay. Subnet. So I'll click it and associate the vNet. It's not detecting the network card that it has, so I'm just gonna go for default. So I need to shut down and add a second network card here and then connect to that network card. I can do that too. So inbound, but not able to associate to a vNet. So its network card is not detected here. That's what's going on. That's why it's not showing here anything. That how can I connect to that, right? So I'm not able to connect this to the network card of that virtual machine. So for that, I need to shut down the virtual machine, add a second network card from Azure, and let it connect. I'll go there, overview, and stop the machine, press yes. let me just log in once, please. When we say the magic word, sometimes it works. Okay, fresh. Deallocating. Fresh. Now, if the network card lets me attach it now, yeah, network card related stuff, and normally we need to shut down the machine to do that. Stop deallocated, okay. Networking, and now we can actually do this. Okay, I'll just try to attach from here. Add inbound rule, virtual network card. Interface is this. I'm just going to go to the interface and attach it to a network security group. In East US network security group. It doesn't see that. Okay, I'll just go back to the network security group again. Sorry guys, just trying to go for, RDP and network interfaces. So I'm just back in network security group as well, and I'll just do a overview, click overview, and then go back to network interfaces and try to go associate. Oh, it does not detect that. Serious. So network security group, as far as it is concerned, is created, but it also is allowing me on the virtual machine to do the same thing as well, that create an inbound port. In fact, oh sorry, that network security group is actually connected, RDP, but so we're kind of okay here. So I should start now after this RDP is connected, because I connected to the subnet. Attached to the subnet is written there, right? Impacts one subnet, 0 interfaces. Guys, I just want to make sure that it's connected to my network interface card as well, because it's showing connected to subnet, right? Attach network interface is another extra option, but there is a network interface already there. And yeah, so I can try first with this, that with subnet it is connected. You know what, I'm just gonna attach a second network interface quickly. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Create and attach a second network interface. Second NIC. And go for network security group that I created. This is it. No, that's RDP. Yes, that's it. Okay, so there's a network interface card that I connected to this machine from, which I'm connecting to this machine from a network card that is in Azure. So Azure side of network card is attached to this machine that was just migrated, right? So I'll try to click overview and go ahead and start the machine. Okay, attached network interface was successfully attached. Starting with your machine. So its own network interface card that it brought from on-premises is not connecting to the network security group here. Now that does kind of make sense as well, that the network interface card in Hyper-V has no idea what is network security group. So in that case, we're just testing if we connect the network security group to the subnet but not to the network interface. If you don't connect to the network interface, it's gonna be problemo. Okay, successfully started the virtual machine, and I'll try to connect with Bastion again because it does have a private IP. I'll go for my local credentials first. Administrator. Small m is equal to shape 123 without shape 123. Seriously, are you kidding me? The network connection to the Bastion host appears unstable. Unstable means, normally it means forget it. A Okay, the connection has been closed because the target machine is taking too long to respond. This is usually caused by network problems, such as the spotty wireless. Serious. I can make a second NIC primary as well. Yeah. Let me go there because I have to shut it down for that again, which I will. So this is second NIC, and second NIC. So the subnet is RDP and as well as second NIC. Yeah, I can make the second NIC primary. Okay, guys, I'm just gonna shut down that again. Replicating is finished. Actually, migration is done as well. Replicating was long back finished, Ali, and migration is also done. It's just that this machine once here, it follow the Azure rules, or because this machine was in Hyper-V. Hyper-V has different rules of networking, and Azure has different. So its original network card may not be compatible with the network security group that we are trying to attach to it, and it might not even know, hey, what is network security group? Are you kidding me? So
Amir, can you just log in by username and then add and then domain instead of slash domain?
oh, okay, username add domain.
You,
Sure.
yeah.
So on-prem it is, there's a question, on-prem is degraded or powered off, so it is powered off there. So it's just powered off, we can power on as well. But that's not a failover partner, it's just an independent separate machine. Refresh. Refreshing this and then trying to remove its network card. You guys, I think we should, we can, some of us can do some Googling as well. Here, is removed, activated on Windows 80. RDP, that's also good. And is RDP activated on this machine? Because normally the desktop, when you have a Windows on-premises machine, yes, Imane, you're right. Normally the remote desktop connection is actually disabled. You're right. And one of these, that's a very good point here. One of these here can let us run actually some commands here as well. Oh, these are features here. We, when we were migrating, we should have enabled the desktop at that time. You're right. Very good point. By default, on-premises machine has disabled desktop. Serial console, export template tasks. Use workbooks, connection monitor, logs, diagnostics. Oh, run command, this one. So when we start VM, then I can try to run a command that can verify RDP listener settings. Right. So before that, I'll go for networking and change the network card. Second one, and if I could just remove this, right? So this is IP configuration here, filter IP configuration. It's not letting me when remove this. It doesn't let me connect it to another network card or network security group. On-prem dual accelerating off. I'm just checking the network card configurations here. configurations, IP forwarding. Stopped. Oh, now the virtual machine stopped. Okay. In order to get that network card attached here, I can effective rules here. I don't see any option to get it as a primary, right? So second effective security rules. So it's already ipconfig 1 primary here written as well. So the version for your network interface. Okay, so okay, I think I gave that configuration as primary. SSH. So yeah, one thing is this, guys, that the second NIC is there, and second thing is that I'm gonna run those RDP as well, because if RDP is not there, obviously it also makes sense that we cannot. And on-premises machine normally does not have RDP enabled; they have disabled it. So run command. If I go for, did I change anything here? So did I save it? No. Okay. Second NIC is already primary configuration here. Now, guys, nothing else that we can change here, other than if I click that detached interface card is not showing for this one, right? Detaches. If I click the interface, I want to get rid of it. So there's a delete here. Do you want to delete this network card? I'm just going to delete the original network card that this machine migrated from. Fail to delete network interface card, blah blah blah, network interface card used by existing resource, blah blah blah. In order to delete network interface, it must be disassociated from the resource. Okay, so I have to disassociate first, and then it can get deleted. And this network card, when I select, detach should be coming, but it's not coming, right? So I'm gonna refresh here. So the other thing that I'm gonna try to do is just go to run command and start VM. Okay, it brought me here directly. I'll start VM and try to go for RDP here and enable the RDP protocol, and let's see if this works. Okay, there are more comments. How about if we create a new VM within the subnet with the public IP and use that to connect to this one? But the main thing is RDP is actually disabled. So if I start this machine, this is on premises and should not be bothering. Now on premises failed to start. Hyper-V prevented starting virtual machine because it is prepared for failover. Oh yeah, so replication operation of for virtual machine on-prem DC failed. So it is, this machine is in the failover partnership right now, so yeah, it's not gonna let me touch that too. But normally on-premises machine has disabled RDP. So once this machine is started, I can just check this command here, RDP settings, right? Once it is started, right? So, well, it's troubleshooting one by one, so I have to check it as well if anyone wants to. So your machines, whenever you're done with that, my suggestion would be make sure that you do connect, remotely connect inside, and try to troubleshoot that on your side as well. So Ali says if you delete the origin connection will be gone. Okay, you're saying that if I delete the network card first, yes, it is possible that its original connection will be gone. But normally with Azure Machine, I've done that. I've removed the first network card and then added the second network card, and it worked. But yes, with migrated machine, it's new territory. I'll go for the virtual machine. Oh, did it not start? So guys, if your migration is still in progress, just make sure that you do connect to the machine, right? /administrator and password. Yeah, we can do that, or we can go for administrator at and the domain name. And yeah, once we're back there, it's still, I think, starting. I think it said started already. Started virtual machine. Okay. So I'll try to, that run command thing is so RDP settings, check registry settings and domain policy settings, suggest policy actions if a machine is. So script execution in progress. It's just checking the RDP settings, right? So normally it does give an output here that I'm running this inside the machine and checking it. So whenever you're starting to migrate, just make sure that firewall is off and RDP is enabled when we are migrating. And while the script is running, can I run also ipconfig? And is it still executing? Yeah, it is still executing. Well, oh, okay. Seriously, I should not disrupt that process. Execution still in progress. So while this is going on and it's running the script, I'll just make another duplicate of it and try to log in again. Bastion, use Bastion, and administrator add on-prem domain.local small abc libc ship 123 without ship 123. Connection to the Bastion host appears unstable. Yikes. Nope. So it's unstable, it's saying, and it's not really connecting. So it's not okay. Let's try out everything. So I'll go for // and it's not the credentials, it's the connectivity that is affected. I mean, it's not the credentials. Credentials are any way you want to log in. It is trying to log in, it's just that it's saying unstable connection. So guys, 9:57, but yes, do try, hopefully nobody's deleted their environment, but do try to log in and share your findings as well. And I'm gonna also try to log in. Obviously after migrate, if we cannot log in, so it's kind of spoiler. And when we start the migration, we should have disabled firewall and enabled the remote desktop because it uses RDP, and on-premises machine actually are. Oh yeah, where can I show that? See this? We have a Windows, the host is also that, right? So here remote desktop is disabled. See this? So this is a VMware host on which we have installed Hyper-V, but this is exactly what that machine was also. Remote desktop was disabled. So when we migrate again, then enable that remote desktop. Okay, sure. Oh no. Well, it's running the script execution in progress, so after some time it's gonna give that answer, but otherwise enable Windows Update, enable EMS, RDP, reset RDP set RDP port. enable remote PowerShell. If it goes for enable remote, enable remote RDP. So this, whenever it executes, it will just give that information here. So Ali says we will continue Azure. So guys, yes, this was a migrate topic, and yes, you can retry this. These are pretty much the steps. As far as this is concerned, that how can we migrate? So this is how we migrate. The next challenge for you guys now is, and hopefully I'll also spend some time on this, that just try to connect to it as well. So in next class, Wednesday, we're gonna just finalize with the remaining topics, and this Wednesday would be the last day for Azure, right? All right, thank you very much, and all right, thank you guys. So please do that. Thank you, and with your labs, and share your results as well. How were you able to log in? Otherwise, I'm planning to just make a copy of that domain controller, and before I migrate that, I will just enable the desktop feature and then migrate. Okay, thank you. Okay, bye bye. Yeah, so exam dumps prep away I'm going for, and for that it's even a bit more expensive than exam collection, but I am reaching near the 35 students, but it has not yet reached there. So maybe this weekend or next week, early days, we may have that for 1 year. Prep away, yeah. That's also I've been hearing a lot. Okay guys, so see you, bye bye, thank you. Resync with the RD enabled. Yeah, that is also possible. If this execution also just stays forever here, then yes, you're right. Yeah, that's a good idea, Bilal. Hazeldine says synchronization at 10%. Are you kidding me? So I think everyone's synchronization is still there. Yes, Hazeldine, I think it's a good idea to delete, because that's gonna take like even all night. So guys, those who want to delete, go ahead. I'm just gonna go to portal menu. So I'm just gonna show you how to delete, and while I'm not gonna delete my machine, so go to portal menu and go to resource groups here, those who want to delete, and the resource group, in my case it's now gonna show the resource group. So just like last time, select your resource group and go for delete resource group, and select your copy and paste and delete. Go ahead and delete, right? So go ahead and delete, and then delete this one as well, network watcher RG. Just click that and go to delete, and then put that name here and delete that as well. I'll just try to go for some kind of T-shoot here, and well, I have some tomorrow's labs as well to prepare, so I think I will also delete after some time. Okay guys, bye bye, see you next class Wednesday. We'll wrap up. Please upload this video today or tomorrow already. Yeah, we'll do that today or tomorrow. Oh yeah, I need to stop the video. Okay.